dangerous race of his.
And hit his magic number 200. 200.
Oh, boys, 200! Nice.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 200th episode of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. My name is Eric Estep. I am your host for this very wonderful, very special occasion. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk all things Richmond. We'll talk about Kevin Harvick's big win. We'll talk about the playoff situation. We'll touch on the truck race and their playoff standings as well. And then at the end, we'll preview Watkins Glen. But for now, gentlemen, just a few thoughts. 200 episodes. Jarrett and Danny started this in February of 2018. I joined a couple months later. Darian shortly after that. Mm-hmm. Guys, we've done 200 episodes. It's collectively, I should say. Jarrett, did you ever think it would get this far?
No, I'll be honest. Like the first one we did, I was like, all right, if we just get through this thing without me making a complete fool out of myself, I'll be happy. And even then, we still made it through.
Jarrett, how many live viewers did we have that day?
3. We did 3.
And I'm pretty certain that one of those was just me looking at the chat.
And one of them was me, and the other was my mother.
So oh my goodness.
Thanks, Mom.
And it started off as just two guys talking about the 2018 dual races.
Amazing stuff.
Because we watched it,
I think who even won those?
Ryan Blaney won one of them, I know. And I think Chase Elliott. Yeah, I remember this.
Okay.
Yeah, because we talked about the youth movement that was going to explode.
We were a few years off.
Everyone was, in fairness. But guys, we've made it to episode 200. We're going to get to all of your super chats at the midway portion and then at the end of the show. But I want to give a quick shout out to Alex Left, Antar Das, Groovy Goose. Kyle 3000 dropped a massive super chat just before we went live. A lot of folks wishing us or congratulating us on 200 episodes, 54 designs. Isaac, we just got one from Scott McNew. A lot of longtime viewers are here showing out their support. We really and truly appreciate it. Before we get into Richmond, though, there's a couple of sort of orders of business I want to attend to. So these guys have already seen this, but I put together a short compilation of each of our first appearances on the podcast. So like just the first few words out of our mouths on this show. I want to play this for y'all now. Let's all cringe for about the next 60 seconds together. Chill, it's fine. It's not that big a deal. It is a pretty big deal.
And I think we're live. So welcome everybody who's going to be watching. Oh, hey, Danny B, I think you're on.
I am finally here. I ended up having to go back to an old version of Firefox in order to get this thing working.
How's it going, everybody? Excited to be here. Like I was saying earlier, I don't get to talk to real NASCAR fans, face to face or in person very often. So it's a nice change of pace, instead of just talking to myself in my room.
Darren, as far as I know, your channel, you haven't actually had a face reveal yet, have you?
A what? What is that?
Yep. As far as your videos go, I haven't really seen what you look like before yet.
Oh, no. Yeah. Only a few people know what I look like.
Well, we're happy to have you on here.
Yeah, AB68, the urinating tree of NASCAR.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That was beautiful. Danny, whoa! Blast from the past. Is that the shirt you were just wearing?
I'm not bald.
He was doing his best 5 points impersonation.
Wow, that was beautiful. Glad 500 people got to see that. Plus, presumably hundreds, if not thousands, more later in the VOD. That was beautiful. Well, boys, it's been a long time. I do want to do one final thing before we get into Richmond. So this is episode 200. Full disclosure, I haven't been there for every episode. If you've watched the show long enough, you know that I've missed some here and there. There was a stretch where I was living in a different city, couldn't be on most Wednesday nights. I've been on about 150 of them. I think Danny and Darian have been on like 180 or 190 each. There is only one person here who has been, according to reports at least, who's been here for every single episode, and that is the iceberg, Jarrett Lundberg. Jarrett, give yourself a round of applause. round of applause isn't enough. So I put something together for you, Jarrett. I'm here to present to you, to bestow upon you. Oh God, the lighting's gonna be too dark. That's okay. I have a photo for them to see. There's a certificate of achievement, if you can read this, presented to Jarrett the Iceberg Lundberg for perfect attendance.
Wow.
Perfect attendance.
It's got the logo.
I'm hanging that up right here. There's a spot. We're all moving our cameras today. There's a spot right there.
Oh my God. That's beautiful.
So
Wow, it fits
perfect.
perfectly. Awesome. But yes,
That's amazing.
I will be. We're unfortunately halfway across the country right now, but I will be getting this to you as soon as is humanly possible. I just figured you deserve something. I mean, we all put a decent amount of effort into this show, but I don't think anyone puts quite as much effort into it on a weekly basis as you do.
This
so.
just gives Eric an excuse to come out here to Tennessee. Now, let's just be real.
There you go.
I just needed a
One
place
of
to stay,
us.
Jarrett. I just need. If I crash on your
I got a
couch,
I got a futon right behind this
oh,
whole
beautiful,
set right
man!
here.
I'll trade you this for sleeping on that futon. That sounds like a winning bid. Anyway, that's enough fun stuff for now. Now let's get into the really serious, not so fun stuff. We're gonna have a lot of unfun moments over the next 2 hours because NASCAR racing is serious, especially when you get down to the final few races before the playoffs. Things get pretty crazy. Kevin Harvick, Mr. Where Did He Come From, is at it again. Winless for nearly 2 full calendar years and now suddenly 2 wins in a row. He won this past weekend at Richmond. We'll start with you, Jarrett. We just heaped a bunch of praise on you. What do you make of Kevin Harvick, and do you believe he is a legit title threat right now?
I've been saying this like for all summer on this show. Like all summer, I've been saying like if Harvick gets in, he's like a dark horse threat. Now I did not see him being like a favorite in 2 weeks. I made a video after his first of 2 wins at Michigan saying that I think he's a championship contender on the fringe, and people said I was nuts. Now he's won 2 in a row, and everyone's saying he's a championship 4 favorite. I will say, I'm gonna stick by my guns here. He has a lot more experience than a lot of these younger guys. There's a lot of guys that are getting into the playoffs this year. It's their first year in. I think that's a big benefit towards him. The team is at an upward trajectory at the right time of the year. Like they are getting hot at the right time. It's kind of funny. Like they're pulling the old Hendrick Motorsports where whether it's Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, like those guys get hot at the right time. Now Kevin Harvick's doing that. Where in 2020, he was the one on the downward spiral at this point, or at least pretty close to it. So I think he is. I'm going to say that I think he's a championship contender. I think he's been, and I think that now that they've gotten that monkey off their back and are finally in victory lane on a pretty regular basis the last 2 weeks, I think that they're a very significant threat to anyone for the championship. Maybe not Chase Elliott favorite but one of the closest to.
What about you, Darren? Do you feel Kevin Harvick has earned championship contender status in just 2 weeks?
Yeah, it just goes to show what type of system we got. You can go from just a complete irrelevance to a championship threat in a matter of 2 weeks. I mean, hey, I'll praise to Kevin Harvick, man. I mean, the only issues I and you, Eric, had were he just needed to lead more laps. He needed to run up front a lot more. And then, hey, in the span of 2 weeks, it seems like they've solved that issue and stuff. But then again, too, Richmond is it's a really big strategy track, and Harvick seems to thrive in those races. Him and his crew chief, his team does. And hey, really Stewart-Haas as a whole too. They were starting to pick it up too. I mean, even Cole Custer, who we've been getting on all season, he finally gets a top 10 run consistently, but then all of a sudden he has these issues. So yes, Kevin Harvick, he stepped up his game, but really, I mean, the whole team, they're starting to kind of come together a little bit too. I mean, we got on Chase Briscoe for, getting the win, but then, hey, what has he done since then? But hey, he was running up there. And then Eric Almirola, I mean, look, technically, Daytona's the final race, so hey, anybody can get a final playoff spot too still. And hey, Eric Almirola might be one of those guys. Yeah, you never know. But Kevin Harvick though, he's, as long as Phoenix is the final race, and if he's in the championship 4, he's got to be one of the big favorites, right?
That's a good point about Phoenix. Danny, do you think Harvick gets some sort of redemption, kind of like Jarrett just said, like a flip-flop reverse of how 2020 finished?
I mean, possibly. It just depends on how long they can keep this momentum going. I mean, last year, we saw Blaney get this same pretty much amount of consistency. He won Michigan and then Daytona right after that. Yeah. So anyone can get hot at a certain time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a championship contender. Because what happened to Blaney after that? He You think he made it? He made it to round of 8, I think, but he didn't make it a championship 4 or anything. So, I don't want to just go, oh gosh, give him the trophy. I don't want to do that just yet.
That's a good point, though, about Blaney. Yeah, Blaney had a solid playoffs that year, but didn't turn out to be a true championship contender. Yeah, I like what we talked about last week. I still think Chase Elliott, even though he's had maybe one or two kind of sort of off weeks in a row, I still think he's probably the championship favorite if there is one. But after him, there's about a dozen or so guys that I think are all kind of evenly matched. Like, I'd give Kevin Harvick as good of odds as I'd give Joey Logano or Ross Chastain right now. I just think it's wide open. And once you get to that championship 4, it is at Phoenix. Different car, the track is a little different than it's been in the past, but Kevin Harvick historically has owned Phoenix Raceway. So if he gets in that race, watch out. But 2 straight wins. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. I don't think anyone truly saw that coming. He's sort of re-earned the closer nickname for at least how he's treating this regular season. So
I just find it funny how like some of their social media accounts, the Sir Haas ones, they're like even addressing like the Harvick is washed memes and all that stuff. I thought that was funny. That was hilarious too, and he was playing along with it.
Hey, you were acknowledging some of the other championship favorites there, and I just want to take a moment just to really think about this. And Eric, you'll notice, obviously, watching Matt Kenseth's last run in the 42 car, Ross Chastain, his first, I say, good opportunity, and I say it with quotes, was that 42 ride. This year was his first true, really good car, because that 42 car there at the end wasn't the greatest ride, and Eric knows this being a Kenseth fan.
I'm just gonna keep telling myself it was the car, but yeah.
yeah, it's a car. But anyways, Chastain's first year with Trackhouse Racing, and we've got him in that championship contender status. That's just forget all the shenanigans that he's found himself into, and I'll say the bias NBC has towards him at times. Forget all that part. That's just incredible to see this story that we've seen so far this year of him.
I mean, really, that whole team as a whole, man. I mean, like Chastain. Well, yeah, and there was something involving Chastain too. There were a couple incidents. The first one, Denny Hamlin completely tried to take him out on one of the restarts. It looked like, I don't know if that was just a racing deal or like he wanted to send a message or something. I'm like, what was going on there?
Yeah, this weekend was one of those cases where it's like, you had a great car. What happened in that one?
Yeah, because he dominated the whole first stage. Chastain did. Then all of a sudden, he kind of just fell off a cliff late in the going.
It could have just been the adjustments. Like other people adjusted, he didn't. He was comfortable with it, and other people made adjustments that was better. I don't know.
Yeah, that happens too. And of course, he's involved in some stuff, of course.
I want to get to that in just a moment because you're alluding to the wreck with Kyle Busch. I do want to get to that in a moment, but first, let's mention a few standout performances. We've talked about some standout drivers this season, like Ross Chastain, but in this race, let's acknowledge Christopher Bell made it interesting at the end. He drove from, I don't know where in the pack, he was one of the few that attempted the 2-stop strategy there in that final run, and almost made it work. He gets about one more green flag lap. He probably passes Kevin Harvick for the lead, but he ends up second. Christopher Buescher, probably the standout in that final stage, finishes third ultimately, but challenged Harvick for the lead for a good bit. Danny, were you surprised at all to see that kind of speed out of Chris Buescher at a non-super speedway? Christopher Buescher at a non-super speedway, non-road course?
Definitely surprising there. At the end, I was definitely rooting for him, and oddly enough, Christopher Bell was also just very incredible. Those last few laps, I found myself thinking, "Oh, let's go, Bell! Let's go, Buescher! Oh, okay, Bell, go for it! Go!"
Yeah, I mean, really, when you look at Keselowski, Fenway Racing as a whole and stuff. Well, what exactly is their team name again?
Good enough.
Roush Keselowski Fenway, right?
Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing.
Okay, there you go.
Almost
but basically, the 6 and the 17 looks phenomenal all day too, and also shout out to Elijah Burke keeping the meme going. I appreciate it. I thought that was funny. But anyways, though, Keselowski was running consistently inside the top 5 that first stage, and then he kind of fell off, but he was still flirting.
I think he still finished the top 15. I think he was
15th. Yes. So, but he was still flirting with the top 10 from time to time. But then Chris Buescher, they just kicked it into another gear, and again, it goes to show, we've seen this guy perform on road courses, and then, occasionally, of course, he'll always be in contention at the super speedways. Hell, he even won one of the dual races this year, too. So when we go to Daytona, he's going to be a threat. But, I see him as a threat to win next week, too, just based on his Sonoma performances, too. We see him with this next-gen car. It's really showcasing driver talent, and, they're not the most, they're not the the most well-funded team at the moment, I guess you could say. They're still lacking in some departments, but he's able to bring the best out of them, it seems, at these select tracks.
Well, and I think it was a lot having to do too with the fact that Ford was just on their game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the script has been completely flipped between now and before Michigan, because like everyone was wondering what's going on with Ford, including Ford themselves. But I have it here. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Fords in the top 10, and Austin Cindric and Brad Keselowski ran the top 10 a lot of the day too when we're up there. So it's like Ford showed out and kicked Toyota's butt for the most part. I mean, Joey Logano looked like the car to beat. I will say,
but this is a really good track for him, though.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, it's not historically been a good one for Ryan Blaney. He still ran top 10. Here, of course, here comes the siren. Here it comes.
We heard it subtly. We heard it a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's getting closer. Anyway, but I mean, Chris Buescher is not one that we normally think to do well at this track. Eric Almirola ran up pretty well, didn't lead laps, but ran pretty well.
He started like last and drove up to fifth like it was easy,
I think the big deciding factor with all these guys, though, was the fact of the track changing with the weather. The fact that it went from sunny to cloudy completely changed the entire complexion of the race.
Yeah, no, it did change. I mean, the track naturally changes a lot throughout the run regardless, but yeah, the second half, and I did see you tweet about that, Jarrett, the changing track temperatures affected a lot of drivers. I think that's maybe part of why Logano faded that whole final stage. Like, I think that played a role.
But also another notable too, and really quick before I move on to his other point, shout out to Christopher Bell. I mean, a P2 finish, after the little fiasco at Michigan last week.
This is and
he spun out in this race. He spun out and came back to finish second. So
so hey, a title contender.
Hey, be on the lookout for him. But let's talk about like some other Toyota drivers too. I mean, Ty Gibbs was another notable. Him and Kyle Busch when they were duking out for a little bit. That was crazy to me, because I was like, oh, this is so perfect, because I mean, I think we talked about it, last week on the show. At this point, Kyle Busch has no leverage in negotiations with Joe Gibbs, because it's like, dude, like, okay, Ty Gibbs is here. You can get him a lot cheaper, and he's family too at the end of the day, and he's really talented too, which is also, one of the most important factors.
And he'll probably honestly win races in a cup car.
He might win races immediately next year if you put him full time. So it's just, when you add the context in, and then when you see them battling on track, and then weren't they like bumping a little bit at one point too? Just a tad.
A little bit, a lot bit.
Yeah, they were like Ty Gibbs. I think he was somewhat in the wrong. Kind of chopped himself off the front of Kyle Busch's car, but then said, "Oh, Busch hit me," and hit him right back. And I'm like,
hey, look,
he's 19 years old and he's picking a fight with Kyle Busch.
I love it. I love this too. It's like, look, he believes in his abilities and stuff, and it's like, hey, he's racing. I mean, I know they're technically, kind of sort of teammates in a sense, but still, I mean, he wants to prove himself. He has something to prove.
The funny part for me is that earlier in the week on Dale Jr. Download, he's like, yeah, Kyle's been telling me just that I need to relax and just chill out. So I've been learning from Kyle to do that. And then he goes out there and just completely destroys the back of Kyle Busch's car. And I agree. Like, it was totally his fault. I mean, Busch had the line, he had the entry, and Ty cut him off. But if that's 2008 Kyle Busch, Ty Gibbs is in the wall.
You got to appreciate the aggressiveness, though.
Yeah,
I do.
He's living up to his reputation. The Ty Gibbs show on Sunday next year is going to be fun.
No offense to Noah, when he's in a cup car, Noah Gregson, that is, when he's in a cup car, I just see him as just being another one of the guys out there. Whereas Ty Gibbs, I feel like he's already making himself known better.
That's a good point. Aside from Michigan a couple weeks ago, we hadn't seen Gregson really, have a presence in these cup races, and even there, he ended up wrecking himself halfway through. So Ty Gibbs, he doesn't blow a motor in this race. He's probably in the top 10 towards the end, and looking for, I guess, would that have been his second straight top 10? I think he would have been in contention, because one note I have here, you mentioned the Fords being great, Jarrett, but all 4 Joe Gibbs cars didn't win, didn't look as dominant as they usually do at this track, but all 4 Gibbs cars did finish inside the top 10. Even Kyle Busch, after getting knocked around by Ty Gibbs, and then after spinning off the front bumper of Chastain as well, he got
and after a few good weeks, Bubba Wallace also finished 13th, just on the outside of the top 10.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I know Truex finished inside the top 10, but I mean, look, obviously for him, considering his history at the track, that had to be disappointing. I mean, like, did he even lead a single lap all day, or no?
He might not have. He collected 1 stage point all day, which was...
He did not.
Yeah.
No,
It's
what? I mean,
probably lackluster.
yeah, just based on his history, because on the broadcast they were like, "Oh, don't worry." Like, I think it was Burton be like, "Oh, don't worry, they're gonna figure something out here," and then they just never really did. You know,
I gotta admit, like, and it's pretty funny watching on like Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and watching Kyle Busch fans react. It's like, how the hell are we running fourth right now?
Oh,
This is
Dalton
awful.
good. Dalton good.
Oh, he's like a poster boy.
Oh,
But it's like
dude.
it's so fun to watch him because I'm like, man, there are like 36 other drivers who would love to be in your position. It's like it must really be nice to be upset with the top 5 run.
They would love to run inside the top 5 or top 10. Hell, even the top 15.
Hey,
too.
I just got to put this out there. I'm a Bowman fan. These last few weeks have been horrible.
Well, to be fair to
it's
Kyle
funny.
Busch fans, the last few weeks have also been horrible for him. Before this 9th place finish, what was it? 8 straight races.
8 straight, and now it's
outside the
not.
top 10.
Oh, wait, no, it's not 9. Never
No,
mind.
he
That's
finished
right.
9th.
Yeah.
You know, don't kick them while they're down, Derek.
Sorry,
Give them their
sorry.
props. But you know, so Kyle Busch finally got a top 10. He was one of the more consistent drivers this year before this slump. So I want to start with you on this question, Jarrett. How much confidence do you have in Kyle Busch once we get to the playoffs?
None.
Wow.
I said that last week too.
I will give my reasoning here. Do you remember back in 2020 when it was like, what's wrong with Kyle Busch? And it's like Bristol. We'll know with Bristol because it's one of his best tracks with Richmond, how good Kyle Busch is going forward. He went out in the Bristol night race. Holy Jesus, that's a big one. And he finished second and competed for a win.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This week?
Yeah,
No
because
shit.
I had that one in 2020 circled on there because I expected that to get him forward. I remember that.
Yeah, I said this last week. I'm like, look, out of all the drivers in the playoffs, I mean, the one I'm most concerned with right now is Kyle Busch. I mean, it was 8 straight races without a top 10. I mean, thankfully he broke that drought, but still, I mean, just with that, you know, the lack of performance recently, and then also, you know, you factor in the context of all these contract negotiations and stuff. I mean, like, do you think his head's all the way there? You know, I don't know.
I compare it to, like, you know, we see him finish 9th. That's good. He got a top 10. And I just, you know, ragged on Kyle Busch fans for ripping on good performance, but I'm gonna kind of give another instance here. Like, if Chase Elliott finishes 9th at Watkins Glen this week, we're not saying that was a successful run because he is far and away the best driver at that track. I think it's the same thing with Kyle Busch at Richmond. I think overall he's probably one of, if not the best driver at that track. So I don't have much confidence. If he goes out this week at Watkins Glen and beats Elliott, Larson, Reddick, and probably Truex, I'll have more faith in him.
Interesting. Danny, how do you feel about Kyle Busch's chances these final 12 races?
I mean, Kyle Busch could beat Kyle Busch any given week. You know, that's just a fact. Definitely, he's got to love having Bristol wrecked in that first round because I feel like that's just a comfort zone for him. Honestly, even an off Bristol race for him is usually like a top 5, top 10 run.
Yeah.
So you know he's got to love having that one so early. I don't see him as a championship 4 favorite, but I don't see him going out in the round of 16.
So I had him as
12, maybe.
I had him as a championship 4 favorite before this 8-week stretch. I still think he'll make the round of 8. Obviously, the round with Talladega and the Roval and everything, that's always kind of a wild card. But I think the first round, there's no way he goes out in the first round. I'd be shocked. That would be more shocking than him not staying with Joe Gibbs Racing, you know, at the beginning of the season. So I still have a decent. I'd give myself like a 7 out of 10 on the confidence meter for Kyle Busch. Not necessarily to go all the way to Phoenix, but to get really darn close. And brief side tangent, we got a massive super chat, very generous from Chris, and he asked a very odd question, but he wants to get the chat's opinion on what he should name his second kid, who I guess is due very soon. So I put a poll in the chat. I'm going to close it in a minute, but if you want to chime in.
Wait, for real? That's
yes.
I'm voting Archer.
And I like the name Archer, but
Yeah,
the last name is Contino. So you got to remember that with the name. What's going to sound better?
So like this is going to be like the actual name of it.
I think he's just going to weigh it among many other factors. I'm sure the mom probably gets a say as well.
Yeah,
I certainly would hope.
I'm imagining this lady on the couch like no.
She's just
I
reading.
think Archer Fitz is a really good name.
Yeah, it is a good name. Yeah.
Archer Contino. That sounds good.
That's a very good. Well, we appreciate you. We'll get to the rest of the super chats at the top there, but we do appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Did you guys ever expect we'd be naming a baby on NWP?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy, bro. It's nuts, man.
I like this name. Someone suggests Wolfgang. That's a,
Wolfgang. This is on future.
That's a good name.
Wolfgang. I haven't heard that in years.
Back to the Kyle Busch part of this, though.
Yeah, name him Kyle Busch.
I'm looking at the round of 12, though, and Talladega is always the one where I'm expecting him to get wrecked at this point at Talladega, along with 30 other drivers. Texas, he's good at Texas. I think that's the best one he has. Outside of last year's 4th place finish, where he led 22 laps at the Roval, his finishes were in 2020, 30th. In 2019, 37th, and in 2018, 32nd.
I forgot about that stat. Yeah, it was remarkably bad at the Roval for whatever reason.
That's horrible.
And I'm not saying he's gonna do like awful, but I mean, I can look at it right now to make sure. But hasn't JGR kind of been off at the road courses this year?
They have. Indeed.
Yeah.
I'll look at how Kyle's done while you guys.
You just said something, Jared, that just made me think. Yeah, Kyle Busch this day. If I think Kyle Busch in the Roval, I think about him literally rage quitting the very first one.
That's right.
They did.
And I'm looking here. I have his results from this year. He finished 28th at Coda. Scroll down a little more. 30th at Sonoma. 29th at Road America. 11th at Indy, which, let's be real, that's a crapshoot. So
you just had to survive that turn. That's it.
Yeah, survive in advance.
It's not great. I mean, because you didn't have to really survive too much at Road America, and he finished 29th. I remember he was like horribly bad in that one.
The Gibbs cars have just been off on road courses this year, so I'm still confident because he's Kyle Busch, and I do think he seems a little more focused the last few weeks. He almost won Pocono. I know his car was technically illegal, but I don't think that's what allowed him to run second. So I think he's starting to come around a little bit. Focus will be kicked back in once maybe he gets some of these contract demons sorted out a bit. But one final question I have for you guys on Kyle Busch. He came back to finish 9th, but he did spin out, got involved in an incident with Ross Chastain shortly after a restart. It looked like Chastain thought that Ty Dillon was inside, so he picked the second lane going into turn 3. Kyle Busch, in my view, came down and spun himself off of Ross Chastain's front bumper, but Kyle Busch said afterwards he got Chastain. Denny Hamlin's crew over the radio said, oh, there's the Chastain. He was... got himself another one this week. Truex over the radio said it was all on Ross Chastain. So, Darian, is Joe Gibbs Racing just trying to pile on Ross Chastain now, or was that incident actually at least somewhat his fault?
Look, I mean, like, at this point, I pointed this out in my upload last week and on Twitter during the race. I mean, this is who he is, man. He's going to force the issue. He's going to drive like this. Like, look, I mean, a lot of these fan bases didn't have a problem with Chastain, running like this, even though he's been running like this his whole career when he was a mid-pack driver. Yeah, I mean, nobody had a problem then, but I mean, now all of a sudden, he's winning races, running up front and stuff, and now all of a sudden it's a huge issue. So look, he's not gonna change the way he races. He's been racing like this for 10 years, man. So like, look, this is just simply who he is, man. Now, I mean, on that incident in particular, I mean, how did it start though? He just forced it 3 wide there.
So go ahead, Jared.
He thought the 42 wasn't underneath him at that point, but he's still trying to give him a bit of room. And it looked like Kyle Busch thought that it was just Chastain.
Yeah, I mean, like, but here's the thing, like, whether it's his fault or not, at this point, he's not going to get a break, man. I mean, like, everyone knows he runs hard and stuff. So, I mean, like, everyone's like, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt anymore. I mean, and honestly, in my opinion, I mean, yeah, and I know it's not fair, but it's like, it's kind of deserved because, look, I mean, you keep apologizing and stuff, and you're not going to change the way you run. In my opinion, I think he would be better off if he just didn't apologize at all. If he was just like, hey, this is who I am. I've raced like this my whole career. I'm not going to stop. I mean, it's clear as day he's not going to stop.
No,
so hey,
I agree with you.
You should embrace it.
I agree with you there. I think it's totally fair to not give him the benefit of the doubt. But an incident like this that seemed kind of clearly not his fault, in my opinion, I feel like it was somewhat unfair of the Gibbs guys to just jump on him. I know he's had tons of incidents and run-ins with the Gibbs guys this year. Just last week at Michigan, he wrecked Christopher Bell. That was on Christopher Bell. At least 90% of the blame falls on Bell. But again, some like Bell in his interview this weekend at Richmond was like, "Oh, I'd give some of the blame to Chastain. He had a choice to lift." So that's, I mean, they're not giving him, like, I understand not giving him the benefit of the doubt, but when the Gibbs car is obviously the one at fault, like, it's not benefit of that. It's just what happened. Like, I don't see how you can blame Chastain for that incident. But Danny, did you see it any differently?
No, I did. It just feels like it's unfortunate how much controversy he's been around, because now he's always going to get just, if he even slightly slips up, someone's going to be all over. It's like, he's like one of us YouTubers. If we slightly mess up, people will be all over us.
Yeah, the NASCAR Cup Series field is a YouTube comment section with the way they just swarm Ross Chastain.
Or no, it's a Twitter thread. Excuse me.
He
messed up. Get him.
I don't think that it was on Chastain. I think a lot of the chat is saying what we all think on this is that it's a racing deal. I mean, could he have lifted? Yeah, but at the same time, like, he had an entire pack behind him. He would have probably lost 5 or 6 spots if he lifted coming out of the corner like that. And let's be real. Are you really expecting Ty Dillon to still be underneath you when you're passing him? I mean,
that's fair.
I'm just saying.
He ran pretty decent.
He had like one of his best runs of the year, though. He was up in the top 15.
And then it went to hell.
That'll do it. Well, moving on a bit, we have just a couple things left to talk about before we get to the ratings, and we go to the poll, of course. That's coming up shortly. But if we look at the playoff picture real quick, Ryan Blaney finished 10th. He collected 11 stage points, though, versus Martin Truex Jr., who finished 7th, but only collected 1. As a result, Blaney extended his points lead for that final spot by, I think, 7 points. Ryan Blaney now leads Martin Truex Jr. by 26 points for that final playoff spot. So I want to start with you on this one, Danny. Did Martin Truex Jr. just blow his best shot to make up points?
Maybe not necessarily. He's really good here at Watkins Glen this weekend.
That's true.
I mean, we probably don't remember this. Everyone remembers Chase Elliott won 2018, 2019, but who was on his back bumper?
That's
and
fair.
who was winning at this track before Chase Elliott? Martin Truex Jr. So it's not over. I mean, super speedways are tough for him. They're tough for a lot of people, but Watkins Glen is still one of those tracks where he could definitely do well. I mean, did one of you already look up Blaney's road course stats? Is he necessarily great?
I'm pretty sure they're okay. The thing is, he's been a little better statistically than Truex this season because Gibbs just seems to be a little off. That's the only concern I have, not with the driver, but with the team at Watkins.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Remember, Ryan Blaney won the first ever Roval race, but he was running in third.
Well, because Truex got wrecked from the lead.
Because Truex got right.
That was a Mickey win for him.
Yeah.
So looking at what Blaney's done this year, he was 6th at Coda, 6th at Sonoma, 11th at Road America, and then 26th at Indy. But
he was like count 4th when he got spun, wasn't he? Something like that.
He was up front with that one.
So I don't know. To answer your question, I think what happens for Truex, honestly, he can make or break the rest of the season this weekend.
Okay.
I think Blaney is in that situation at Daytona because I think someone new will win Daytona. I honestly do. It's just, is it him? That's the question.
Usually, go ahead.
I'll push back. I think that he did blow his best chance to make up a bunch of points just because of how just that little bit more off JGR has been at the road courses, whereas Blaney has, if not finishing up there, has run up front pretty much all season. Watkins Glen is probably the least crazy of the road courses we go to. So I don't see as many problems, whereas, look at Sonoma, for instance. JGR was like outside the top 20 on speed, not on, just strategy. They ran outside the top 15 and 20 because they were not fast enough to keep up with people. And so I think that this week might be more of a struggle for Truex than a lot of people think. And Daytona is not exactly a track we're knowing Truex to run well at. So I think at this point it's go for the win or bust. Like,
I'll put it like this, man. Basically, it's simple. Truex needs to win this weekend, or Blaney has to have some sort of, massive issue for him to get, a points advantage, because I am not confident in Truex at Daytona or any sort of super speedway
He's
track
never
at
won
all.
on a super speedway. I
No.
believe.
So like I'll go as far as to say is look, if Truex either doesn't win this weekend or if he's still behind in points on Blaney for the final playoff spot, you could even go as far to say as his season might be over right then and there. I mean, I am not confident in Truex at all on these super speedway tracks. You know, something always happens. And I mean, does he typically run up front there sometimes? I mean, like,
well, now I did look up his stats. Again, this has been a weird year for Truex. Bad at Martinsville, bad at Sonoma, but I don't think he's finished worse than, I want to say it was like 13th. I think it's his worst super speedway finish this year. I don't think he's wrecked out of one yet. So he hasn't won. He hasn't really been in contention. But he's not had his typical bad Truex luck at a plate track yet this year. So maybe the trend reverses. But I think I mostly side with Jarrett. Richmond was his best track of these closing tracks. Like statistically, I think he had 7 straight top 5s before this race, and he finished 7th. So this is his best track, and he lost points to Ryan Blaney. So I think, like you said though, Darian, it's must win here. He's got to win Watkins Glen, and then obviously he's got to try and win.
Because everyone
Daytona.
going into Daytona, I mean, the point situation, it's not close enough to where like it'll come down, all on points at in the final race and stuff. But I agree with Danny. I do feel like we could see a different winner there, way below the cut line. And Truex, he has to get going. He has to win this weekend.
Is this true? I don't remember. I was at the race. I don't remember. But Drake and friends and also Illusion say in the chat that Truex swept the stages at the Daytona 500. Did you guys remember that?
He did.
Oh, he
but
did.
I'm gonna push back. The Daytona 500 and the second Daytona race they're nothing alike with how they race. I mean, the intensity, especially at the end of stages, that a lot of these guys have, and now going for a win, because one way or another, no matter what, it is make or break for the final playoff spot to win. Whether somebody wins this week that's new or not, the final playoff spot could be determined by that win in either race. So I don't want to have to trust, Joe Schmo that hasn't been up there all year running, as desperately as possible for stage points and to run up front and to get a win. I don't want to trust other drivers with my playoff destiny if I'm Martin Truex Jr.
And I just find it the most funny that we were at the race and we totally forgot that Truex did sweep.
I mean, I can picture it now, but for a second I was like, I don't know.
But remember, Blaney got a top 5.
I was gonna say, Peter in the chat made a good point. Blaney got a top 5 at the end, and honestly might have won that race if not for Cindric's, borderline block. So it's gonna be interesting. I just think both drivers should be treating each race as a must-win. I don't think either can fall back solely on points.
And likewise, I know it's something you got to worry about year-round, but more specifically, these next few weeks, if I'm Blaney, if I'm Truex, I'm avoiding going and being around people as much as possible, because you're in this kind of situation. You don't need to risk getting COVID or some kind of other illness or something like that, because we've seen Chris Buescher miss a race this season because of it. So that'd be the worst possible scenario. It's like, guys,
if I'm Truex, I'm just going out on the lake, hanging out on my boat with my dog. Maybe that's it. Maybe not even my dog. I just sit out there with the mosquitoes and hope for the best. That's it. Always thinking of a wild card.
Don't get COVID. Get malaria.
They're not testing for that one.
I mean, as far as I know, I do a lot of fishing. I've never run a risk of catching COVID while out catching a bass. So
you never know what's in those waters.
You never know.
No, you definitely know better than I do. That's
mercury poisoning.
One last question I want to ask you guys, because I saw Darian. Darian was one of the leaders, I feel like, on Twitter this week. The truck race, which we'll talk about in a minute, was not eventful whatsoever. And some have grown, I don't know, maybe out of love with Richmond. They call it maybe the worst short track on the schedule. This race full of long runs. There was some split strategy at moments that allowed guys like Bell and Hamlin to rocket through the field at the end. A lot of tire wear, lots of tire fall off. But I want to start with you on this one, Darian. I don't know what you're looking at. Is there malaria?
The iceberg fly has invaded my room.
It's not on me.
Yeah, he keeps roaming around everywhere. But what was the question again?
No, I didn't get to the question. My question though is, should Richmond continue to have 2 dates a year?
No. Now, should it remain on the Cup Series schedule? Absolutely. The thing is that, look, I think you'll even find
how me and Jarrett both took a sip of water.
Yeah. I was like, what was funny? I didn't do that.
Okay, all right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, this damn fly's everywhere. It's going to annoy me. Okay, anyways. Now I see how Jarrett feels, man. But anyways, no. So it deserves to be on the Cup Series schedule. It's a phenomenal strategy track. The problem is that, I think you'll even find this, this opinion common with some of the, the diehard fans in that region. They'll even say that, hey, look, the on-track product hasn't been, up to par in years, man. Now, I mean, yes, you had some brief flashes in 2012, 2014, from time to time, but like, I don't know. It's just like, Richmond used to be one of my favorite short tracks, growing up, but it's just, it's lost its luster, man. I mean, like, look, objectively, the race we saw, it was a good race. You had strategy, you had comers and goers and stuff. You had different lane choices, the high lane, middle lane, bottom lane, drivers could run wherever and make up spots. But I mean, the strategy is cool, but then there's also the other, the whole on-track product aspect of it too. And I'm not just talking about crashes, but like, what was it? The top 2 and 3 were like what? Like it seemed like 10 seconds, 15
got strung
seconds.
out.
Like,
it definitely got strung out. Yeah, more so than other short tracks.
And also, like, what's the whole point of like the second stage being so long too? I don't know. I thought the second stage was just entirely way too long in my opinion. But I mean, look, it deserves to be on the schedule. But look, I'll just put it like this: like, see, I could have gone to the Richmond race. I had to either work at the fairgrounds or go to the Richmond race and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm gonna work at the fairgrounds and stuff. Just look, the Richmond race, it just doesn't do it for me anymore. And just hearing, Jarrett's opinions, seeing the track in person, I was like, maybe this is just one that I'll stay away from and stuff. But yeah, it deserves to be on the schedule, but no way should it have 2 dates.
Jarrett, we both took sips of water. What does that mean? Translate.
Okay. Well, I have different reasoning than Darian on this. So I do think that Richmond should be 1 date, but I am someone, and
that's a water sip.
Just for all the Spotify listeners on that one to know, I'm definitely sipping on water. So
Darian, join in. Come on.
Oh my god.
Well, I'll say this. I am someone, and I've recently started to think this more and more, that just about every track in the NASCAR schedule should just have 1 date. I think it helps with attendance. I think it helps with schedule diversity. It helps with market diversity. And when you look at that region of the country, it is the probably 3rd or even 4th of the tracks that surround it that when it comes to quality overall. I mean, I would say, I love Martinsville. It's my favorite track. Same state as Richmond. I think Bristol, which is pretty close, is a much better track. I think Charlotte has been proven with the Coke 600 this year is a better track. Plus the Roval is pretty good too. And you're starting to see a bit of an oversaturation there. I know Slapshoes talked about it with the short tracks, and it's hard to ask people in like a 300 square mile range to all support 6 races a year at these tracks. But just another reason is that you could go to so many different places around the country with this, because, even if the Chicago Street Course goes its 3-year deal and picks up its 2-year option at the end of it, I don't think the Chicago Street Course is going to be a long-term staple for 20 years on the schedule. NASCAR wants to go to different areas. You go to different areas, like for instance, a Denver race like they want to do, you could maybe put a race for Chicago and stay in that market there. Taking a race away from Richmond, you could take a race away from Texas and add in a North Wilkesboro race so that you still have the same amount of races in that region, but a different track, just different stuff like that. So I think outside of maybe like Daytona, Talladega, and I'd argue for my preference Martinsville, but I can see why others wouldn't. I think that pretty much every track should be at 1 date, not 2.
I largely agree with that point. The reason I took a sip of water is I don't know. I hate to lose a short track date. We already lost one with Bristol. You could argue we gained one with the Clash at the Coliseum. But until we know that like the Auto Club short track is going to be a legit good thing, or before we know, until we know that the Nashville Fairgrounds are coming back to the Cup schedule one day, or maybe somehow North Wilkesboro, I hate to drop a short track for potentially a road course or a street course or Kentucky. As much as, maybe we miss Kentucky, I'm not really ready to make that swap. I know a lot in the chat, actually I'm not really seeing too many in the chat yet, but many will probably say Iowa. Possibly. I'm not as big an Iowa Speedway fan as a lot of people.
It's literally the same as Richmond.
I think it'll race same. Now, to Jarrett's point, it will reach a different market, so I'm okay with that.
It It is very close to Kansas Speedway, though.
Oh, never mind then. Scratch that off, guys. I don't know, but that's my fears. We've talked all this time about adding short tracks, more short tracks. I hate to lose one that's I think still put on 2 pretty good races this year. I don't know.
Well, we can talk. We'll talk about it in a minute with ratings. But if you look in comparison to USA with this race and Fox with the other one, Richmond and short tracks in general, just for some reason, NASCAR fans say they want them, but they don't show up. They don't show up at the track a lot, and they don't show up watching on TV. Like short tracks are routinely the lowest watch race of the year. Outside of the last 4 or 5 years, Martinsville was the least watched playoff race for like a decade. Like people just don't watch short tracks for some reason on TV, even though they say they want them.
I think it's just because they're in small markets. I think that's what it does. I think that's the number one thing.
I've never thought about that actually.
Think about when a race at like Atlanta is happening. Like Atlanta will be one of the top TV markets at this. Like it's weird how that works.
I mean, Texas for comparison is too.
The thing is, like Richmond is not a small market. That's a bigger city in Virginia.
It's a bigger city, but it's still I wouldn't say it's like I don't know how many people. How many people live in Virginia? Richmond.
Richmond really isn't a sports city though. Like really, the racetrack is all I can think of.
My auntie lives 2 hours away from Richmond. Actually, it's in a smaller town. But yeah, she lives.
Interesting. Well, yeah, that's a good point too. Well, I polled the chat, and right now it's trending pretty positively towards yes, Richmond should lose a Cup Series date. So interesting to hear what our chat thinks. I'll leave that poll up for a few more moments because I want to turn things over. Actually, before I turn things over to Jarrett's poll, let's talk about those TV ratings for a second. This race at Richmond drew a 1.45 rating and 2.39 million viewers on USA Network. This is up 32% from Richmond last year, which I believe was on a Saturday night, so not a direct comparison. This race is actually, the ratings for this race are actually down 5% from the same weekend last year, which was Michigan. That one drew just about 2.5 million viewers. But as Jarrett noted, Richmond has been pretty consistently the least watched scheduled race the last 4 years. Once again, hit about 20% in that key demo, just under 500,000 viewers, fit the 18 to 49 age range. This is, however, if we compare it to the Saturday night race last year, this is the 6th straight race to have a year-over-year increase that ties the record we set in 2021 just last year. So largely good news. It's up and down. I think mostly positive news for Richmond. Been a good trend for NBC/USA's portion of the schedule. Darian, it is that time of the show.
Yes, the poll, the famous iceberg poll.
That peaked my headphones. That was a good one. There we go. All right.
Paul. All right. So I asked everybody, I'm making sure I have it up and ready to go here. What did you think of the 2022 Federated Auto Parts 400? And we got about 13.6K votes, which most we ever got for a Richmond race. 17% of you said it was a great race. 53% said it was a good race. 22 average. 4 below average, and 3% said it was bad. So a net positivity of 70%, 7% net negative. So pretty good stuff there. And the first comment was from Spencer5478. Was it a positive, negative, or meme?
I'll say positive. Positive this week.
I'll say positive.
Yeah. Me wants absolute chaos by having ourselves 16 different winners today. Harvick, no, wins again. Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
Dang, that was me.
Should have known it was a meme. He's always 50-50. He either has a meme or something serious to say.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm looking at the number one voted comment on my end, at least.
What is
and
it?
It's an account called Pineapple Power 11, but the I's are all ones and the E's are all threes.
Whoa.
Says probably one of the top races of the year. For me, wish that there was no stage caution, so strategy could have had an even larger impact, but great race nevertheless, with a thumbs up.
Sweet.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if I want to say that name. Raptor Chicken. Harvick literally turned his last 22 races from water to wine. This has been so much better than spring. Bell was 1 lap away from stealing it. And then he goes, and also, but off topic, Eric, would you please play NR 2003? I've wanted you to do a video on it for 3 years. You can put and drive your favorite Matt Kenseth schemes.
I've heard nothing but good things. I do have this steering wheel that always sits right next to me that I haven't been plugged in a while.
I feel like that would be just like a good, just one-off video from you.
I mean, that's some off-season content. I need some ideas. That's a good one.
Napa Racing Fan 927, I see him in the chat. He also says in here, happy Harvick is back. I was hoping for Buescher would give him a good and great battle for the lead at the end, but Bell almost stole the show with newer tires. If this race was 402 laps long, Bell would have won.
Agree.
Yeah. Joe King says, just a good old NASCAR race with long green runs, green flag stops, short pitting for strategy, comers and goers, and best of all, no gimmicky green white checker finish.
Yeah, no, that was good. It was good. I like that.
It was an all-around good race. Yeah.
Let's be honest. If that race is happening with like 10 laps to go, and we don't know for sure if Bell is coming or not, under the Brian France regime, like say 2011, 12.
Caution.
I feel like they throw a caution on that.
Caution, yeah.
There's a candy bar wrapper in turn 3. Put it out.
Or the windows are tinted. We can't see.
I remember.
Where's the leader?
I remember it was Richmond. I think it was an Xfinity race. They threw a debris caution, and the dude went up there like to the marbles in the turn and just like picked up a piece of rubber that was like just in the middle. Wasn't even the biggest piece of rubber up there. Just picked it up.
God.
It's like
I got one. I got one for you.
There was like a little like push pins in the track. You just can't quite see it. It was just treacherous.
And then there's one from Danny Boy 2003. Better than the spring race for sure, but I would not mind at all if this track only had one race date. I didn't actually mean for that to pop up. That's just was there. I'm gonna scroll down to the bottom 5 and get the spicy comments.
Ooh. Oh yes,
they're like the jalapeno pepper comments of ours. And wow, the lowest comment on here is from Denny Delivers.
What? They've turned on him. Whoa.
This is the heel turn.
Oh, what'd he say?
Well, I'm making sure. Oh, these will be some good ones. Okay, these will be good ones. All right, the 5th lowest voted from Matthew Moron is his name, and it's not it's spelled differently, but it's still pronounced that way. It's not about the fastest car that wins; it's the best strategy that wins. I'm about ready to stop watching NASCAR again. I hate this new car. It really didn't even the playing field. What team has the most wins? Hendrick Motorsports, a Kyle Larson fan.
That explains it all. Then
What?
There you go.
Did he?
You know what? He's
We had
mad
something
because
like-
Larson's not winning.
What was it? We set a record, right? 15 different winners through the first 23 races. That's like literally a record. I don't know. That's parity right there. That's.
I mean, let's not act like almost all of Joe Gibbs has a win. You know.
Yeah. Come on, man. I don't know.
Ed Dean was simple with didn't watch.
That'll do it.
How do you ever
Called. Didn't care.
God.
Eric Elsinger said Richmond is such a boring track. Honestly, no idea why NASCAR gave it 2 races. It's been that way for a while.
Yeah.
JJA 1987, bad. And now the one we've been waiting for from Denny Delivers.
What did you say?
Martin Truex Jr. This is my best chance to win and make it into the playoffs. And then underneath it, remembers Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Ross Chastain exist in this society.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
forgot about
right.
Stenhouse
Yeah,
blowing
he
pit
did.
road and almost
Again.
wrecking Truex.
Again, he's done it twice. Again.
That was glaring. That was whoa.
And y'all downvoted him to get him there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the point? Why did that deserve a downvote?
It ensured we'd read it, I suppose. Maybe they're figuring out our system. Maybe Denny Delivers has like 50 spam accounts that all downvoted his other tweet. Or
It's not getting upvoted enough. Downvote.
Yeah.
Where are you at in the chat? Explain yourself.
Yeah, get in here, Denny. He's just talking. He said didn't know Stenhouse had fans.
Hey, I didn't either, too. I didn't.
Someone's gonna downvote his live chat now.
Yeah, I mean, I got. Like I put something about Stenhouse being like I think I put certified Stenhouse moment, and I had like 3 Stenhouse fans, like
all 3 of them.
Haunt.
No, I'm kidding. That was me.
Damn.
I like Stenhouse sometimes.
Yeah, it's like it's not that
Sometimes.
he's not a bad guy. He just makes dumbass decisions. at
Yeah.
times.
If he'd never driven the 17, I probably wouldn't care for him too much. But like us, 17 fans have to stick together.
It's a special place in your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All 3 of them.
That was the poll. God. Move on to the next subject.
Move on.
I don't want to dogpile on Stenhouse fans.
No, that's for the pick section later on. We'll get there. Don't worry. Before we've almost reached the halfway point of this show, we do have to talk about the truck race. We've done a bad job the last couple weeks, I feel like, of just kind of glossing over the trucker Xfinity race. So let's get a little more in depth on this one.
Well, hold on. To be fair, on the truck side of things, I mean, like they run like once a month, basically.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
That's what I mean. We got to give them their credit, or we got to give them their attention when they do it, because they don't race again for like another 3 or 4 weeks.
So I'll get this out the way right now. I didn't watch a single lap of the truck race. Me and IDK player were working at the fairgrounds.
That's
so
fair.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I mean, all I know is that according to some, it wasn't a real memorable race.
It was
Chandler Smith walked away with the win.
Yeah, to be fair, I gave this whole spiel, and now I'm like, this is probably the worst truck race to like try and focus on because not a lot happened.
It was my wife's birthday. We were camping, so I didn't watch any of it.
I did see Carson Hocevar. He got into an accident. That wasn't his fault though, right? Did the 33 come down a little on him and then he turned him? Or does anyone remember that?
Are we pulling this like a Chastain where he just doesn't get the benefit of the doubt? I don't know.
I don't know. Was it his fault or not? I don't know.
I don't know. It seemed like going into the corner, it looked intentional, but from what it sounded like over the radios is that like they said it wasn't.
Okay. I didn't watch it, so I didn't know. I just saw a clip, but then I saw some people get mad about it on Twitter. So I was like, oh, is he doing something again? But
well, I do want to talk about Chandler Smith for a moment. This is the one pick I got right. We'll get to our pick points at the end. But
you got another pick right? Oh my god!
Yeah, Chandler Smith
and Darian, really quick. Truex finished ahead of Blaney, and
I know. Yeah, I already know that. God,
Chandler Smith got his third win of the season. That ties Zane Smith for the most wins in the Truck Series this season. He also locked himself into the next round of the playoffs. Remember, the Trucks start with 10, and after their next race, which I believe is at Kansas in like 4 weeks, that 10 will be reduced down to 8. So right now, Chandler Smith and Grant Enfinger are locked in with wins. Zane Smith is plus 46. John Hunter Nemechek's plus 43. Ty Majeski, who had a really strong run, finished third this weekend. He is plus 36. Stuart Friesen's plus 31. Ben Rhodes plus 21. Last year's champion. And then Matt Crafton is currently plus 3. Carson Hocevar minus 3. He finished, I believe, 10th this weekend, but I don't think he collected any stage points, or very few if he did. And Christian Eckes is 10th right now, minus 6. So, gentlemen, we've talked a lot about Carson Hocevar this year. He's gotten a lot of headlines, a lot of attention. He's had some shining moments for sure. But I'll start with you, Jarrett. Is Carson Hocevar's Truck Series season in trouble? Minus 3.
I don't know. I wouldn't say at this point, just because I would trust him speed-wise over Matt Crafton at this point. Like, Crafton's been like silently a bottom top 10 driver, but I feel like if Hocevar just puts the beginning, middle, and end of a race together, gets the first 2 stages in the top 10, and then finishes like, I don't know, like 7th, he'll make up enough points to beat Matt Crafton.
Probably, yeah.
He just has to hope to God that Christian Eckes doesn't win.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh god. That's about it for me. I mean, the rest of them, I feel like 21 points is a little too much to make up at this point with like Rhodes, unless Rhodes or Friesen has something happen to him, which I don't think they will.
Well, first off, I mean, Carson Hocevar during the week on Twitter, he had some grade A trolling there too. He even kind of fooled me there too. So hey, shout out to him for that. You got everybody on that one. But secondly, I mean, like, I wouldn't say it's really in trouble just because it's only 3 points. You can make that up. Pass a few trucks, have to, a little luck go here and there his way. But I mean, I trust him to have more speed than Crafton at this point in his career too. So. But yeah, I mean, like, it seems like KBM, they've really figured something out these playoffs, because Chandler Smith dominated, and I assume John Hunter Nemechek got a top 5. I assume. Second. So, yeah, see, there you go. So like, they figured something out. So they are clearly the favorites. But yeah, it's just that my only issue is just, it's just with the scheduling and stuff. I mean, the first 3, the first round, each of the 3 playoff races in the first round takes place in 3 different months. I'm like, come on, you got to schedule it out a little bit better, man. Like, that's why, I would like to be more invested, but it's like, it's kind of hard to when it's so spread out.
Well, remember last year they had races, I think, at Darlington and Watkins Glen. Like, I don't get why they went away from those as much. Like, if you're gonna take a break, do it during the regular season. Like, have a little bit of time with the playoffs where there's a bit of flow and a natural progression week to week. Whereas now we're like, I don't think they're racing at Martinsville this year, if I'm not mistaken.
You might be right about that. They have 5 races left, and Cup has 12. Like, for reference, like, it's just
yeah. Looking at the rest of the schedule here, Wow, it's so easy. I scrolled all the way to the bottom. So yeah, they have Kansas and Bristol 2 weeks in a row. Skip a week for Texas. I don't blame them there. And going to Talladega. Skip about 3 weeks to go to Homestead. Yeah, they're not going to Vegas or Martinsville, and then they go to Phoenix. Like I wouldn't.
What?
And hold on. The Phoenix finale. Holy Jesus! No wonder Marcus Lemonis is leaving. The Phoenix finale starts at 10 o'clock at night Eastern time on a Friday night. Do you want to know why it starts that late? Do you want to know why?
Why?
So they can make room for the ARCA championship.
That
is supposed to take it seriously if
that
NASCAR doesn't.
That should be starting at 10 Eastern time. No offense to ARCA, but come
10
on.
Eastern time in the morning.
10 a.m. Eastern time.
10 a.m.
Started at 7 o'clock in Phoenix in the morning.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to Phoenix. We're about to crown Raja Karoof the champion. But
Yeah, Eric. See, Eric, it's hard to stay invested when you got all this stuff happening.
I'm not the resident ARCA hater. I'm not going to be branded as that.
But that was last year.
Yeah.
No, but I'm not even hating ARCA. I'm just saying this is a nationally televised series that for some reason NASCAR and Fox have just turned into like the joke series. It's like, oh, we'll just throw it over here. They'll all wreck each other.
Is it true that they're not sending Vince Welsh and Michael Waltrip to the track to call the race?
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah,
they're calling them from Charlotte, right?
Yep, they're doing the COVID policy basically.
Yep, cutting costs.
Damn.
There you go.
Damn.
Like the series is like, well, I mean, I will say there's been times this year it's been a bit of a farce with how the drivers have driven. But the series overall is too good to be treated like this. Like they need, like if I'm not mistaken, one of the rumors I saw about Lemonis leaving was he wasn't happy with how the truck series was promoted.
He had he liked a couple tweets at some point. People pointed out, basically criticizing how Fox broadcast the events.
Oh yeah, even including Natalie Decker, who like her tweet was like making the rounds. Apparently, they didn't scroll through the whole field. They just kept it on the top
they
20
only
the
ever
whole
showed the
time.
top 20. I forgot all about that. No, Decker's tweet she was speaking for all of us.
Yeah,
there. Like,
that was spot on. Yeah, spot on.
It was ridiculous.
I just remember how much more legitimate it used to be back in the day when it was on the Speed Network. Like you just turn on, like they had their own unique music. You know, it just felt like, oh yeah, this is a big deal. I'm ready to watch this truck race.
Scott McNew just pointed out, funny part, it's not even like main ARCA, it's ARCA West.
Oh, so there's like gonna be
it's
like
not even main ARCA.
It's a regional race.
Well, I think the way ARCA does that, I think all the ARCA guys will be in that race. I think.
I know, but it's technically an ARCA West race because I think the finale is at Kansas, isn't it? Or,
it's kind of.
Now I don't know. Now you got me wondering. I actually don't know.
I'm confused too, bro. Like, what's up? Why does ARCA have so many divisions?
See, I don't know, because Bristol used to be an ARCA East race. Now it's a main ARCA race, so I don't know.
I don't know how the whole thing works. I don't know how they switch up the series like that. But yeah. So I mean, again, to Jared's point, the truck series would be taken way more seriously if they had a TV partner that would take itself way more seriously too.
I think we can all agree on that one. The silver lining, maybe next year Craftsman will in fact come back and we'll get the Craftsman truck series again. So.
And hey, can we just get it on NBC? A whole different crew, please, let's do it.
It's just more like truck series. Make us care again.
Yeah,
I'll do it for like a bagel a week and a garage pass.
There you go.
maybe the truck series becomes the electric SUV series at this point. I don't know.
You never know. We'll see.
Just inciting things now.
The NASCAR Craftsman Soccer Mom Car series.
I like it. Trademark. We got to beat NASCAR to that trademark. That's what it sounds like.
We'll get it filed tomorrow.
That's going to do it for Richmond. We spent about the first half of the show covering all things Richmond Raceway. Good stuff. Before we get to the lightning round, and then we have a couple other big stories to touch on before picks, we got to mention some of these super chats. We've gotten tons of support tonight. If one of y'all wants to start a timer, I'm just going to get through some of these. Alex Luff, before we went live, sent 10. Hey guys, let me just say congratulations on this truly momentous occasion. Got nothing else to say but about the race except more laughter at cheater boy Harvick.
It's back.
Antar Das, thank you for the 5. Happy 200. I have an analogy. Being a Hamlin fan is like being a Ferrari fan. They will screw up. I was at the race Sunday and loved the strategy battle. Well, he at least got a top 5 for you, Antar Das. That's not too bad. Groovy Goose, thanks for the 5. As a former Gordon fan who basically disconnected from the sport from 2016 to 2018, I can single-handedly thank you all for bringing me back. Spin the UFO.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Sweet. It's very sweet, Groovy Goose. Appreciate the
UFO's
support.
out of commission, but I'll spin this cap onto the bottom.
What happened to the UFO?
Whoa, yeah, what happened?
Just something with the plug-in. I gotta fix it.
Okay.
Chaos. I mentioned this earlier. Kyle 3000 with the 50 before we went live. My joy as a Kevin Harvick fan is sky high right now. Congrats on 200, boys. Also, if Coda loses its race, I'm gonna riot.
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about that a little later on. We'll see. Maybe at least they'll make Fort Worth a little better for both of us. So let's fingers crossed. Isaac, thank you for the 5. Objectively, best Watkins Glen moment was in 2007 when a fan tried to get Matt Kenseth's autograph during the red flag. Happy 200, boys. Yeah, I wish I'd watched that race live. I didn't watch that race live.
And he ended up sending him stuff too, right?
He did, because he didn't sign the hat in the moment. I think either he was too buckled in or he just probably was afraid of getting disqualified, considering how NASCAR would officiate him.
Did that guy get arrested or just kicked out of the track?
He got kicked out, but it was funny. The part that I love the most is when the guy's like, "Can I get your autograph?" And Kenseth was like, "I'm a little busy here at the moment, man." And he goes, "Come on, man! I just jumped over the fence."
I mean, to be fair, what was he doing? He's just sitting there.
He was that fan was so drunk, man.
I'm telling you, Matt Kenseth probably thought, if I touch that Sharpie, NASCAR will disqualify me. I'm just saying. I'm not a salty Kenseth fan. I'm just.
But Peter said he was arrested.
Oh, he was.
Oh,
someone needs to follow up with that guy 15 years later.
Yeah. I'd love to have him on the show.
54. Yeah, I like how I said someone. I'm like, wait, that's literally what we do. We should do that. Let's get on that. 54.
Someone with a YouTube channel should look into that.
Yeah.
54 Designs, thanks for the 2. Congratulations on 200. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you, Bruce Morgan. You guys do a great job. Appreciate your time and effort, and just want to say thank you. Well, thank you very much, Bruce. Really appreciate the generous support.
Thank you.
Scott McNew with 5. Happy 200th episode. Wow, time has flown. I wholeheartedly agree. Squid Mansion. Here's $5 because I won't give my brother $5.
That's my brother.
Oh, that's your brother. Oh, that's your brother. Okay, I was wondering. He put Jarrett in parentheses, so I was like, "Our Jarrett, a different Jarrett? How many?"
Yeah, he won't give me money, but he'll give you guys all money.
Thank you, Jupiter Rain. Why is Chase struggling at road courses this year? I looked at his numbers. He's not struggling. He's still running top 5, top 10. Just not winning.
He's been so dominant. So this feels like
struggling with Chase Elliott is not winning. So
that's fair. Blake, thanks for the 2 earlier. Congrats on episode 200. Also, he sent a bunch of croissant emojis. Love that. That's good stuff. And good callback.
That's a good place to end off. We hit it.
I'll do one more real quick. Debbie Cox sent 5. Happy 200th. Watched an early episode from Eric's first season earlier today. Happy to be a Patreon supporter. Well, I appreciate that, Debbie. Really appreciate.
Hey, you're braver. You're braver than me. I can't even watch those old episodes.
I can't watch myself from like 2 weeks ago, let alone 3 or 4 years ago. We did get a ton more super chats. We really do appreciate the support. Believe me, we will read every single one. We'll get to the rest at the end of the show, but we do have a lot more news and whatnot to cover. But before that, it's my favorite segment of the week. Thank you to Lionel Racing for supporting the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. This is that time of the show where we all show off our diecast of the week. Lionel is the official diecast of NASCAR. You can order your favorite drivers 2022 Next Gen diecast right now at lionelracing.com or at an authorized Lionel retailer. And you can also check out the latest NASCAR Authentics wave at a Walmart or other major retailer store near you. I know the first Next Gen test wave has been released at a lot of locations. I've seen a lot of photos on social media. I picked up a couple myself, but that's not what I'm showing off here today. Let me start with you though, Darian. That's a fun one. What do you got there?
So look, in honor of the 200th episode, I had to wear the Petty shirt because, of course, Richard Petty, 200 wins and all that. But I had to show the 43, and I was like, okay, where's the Richard Petty car? And I thought I had one. I guess it's buried somewhere. But hey, the closest I could find was this Pillsbury Doughboy 43. From Petty Enterprises in 2003. And, the funny thing about this car is that not only is it, plastic interior and all that stuff, but, well, hopefully this focuses more, but I guess this little promotion thing took place in 2003 when you bought, the Pillsbury Doughboy, biscuits or any other product of theirs. You got this car with the package. And I kept it all these years.
We need more of that. That's super cool. Jarrett, what do you got there?
Well, so I had people vote on what year, not telling them that it was the diecast I was going to have on this because I have a couple others behind me. So a lot of people knew this was coming. It's a 2004 Jeff Gordon Elite. Again, I love that they have the tethers and everything.
That's cool.
But I showed you guys before the show. I wanted to go a little above and beyond for episode 200.
Yeah.
So I finally got this out of my parents' garage and into my apartment. There we go. Whoa. The 2012 Danica Patrick tire.
Oh my
god. The tire, the one and only.
The tire.
Oh, crap. 4-race suspension for me. The tire got away.
Tire's gone.
No, we'll see you in a month, Jared.
Yeah,
we'll hold down the fort here. So, hey, so much for your perfect attendance. I guess I got to burn this.
Burn it. Yeah.
Danny, what do you got there? You got a signature on yours.
Yes, I got this signed by Chase Elliott at a Napa that was opening up in Crossville, Tennessee. But this is the 2018 Watkins Glen, his first win of the Sun Energy car. They got a win. They dipped. That's pretty much the story on Sun Energy and Chase Elliott. Yeah. But no, this is actually the liquid color version of this, and this just looks so much better than the traditional one. Just because that car, the actual car, was a very shiny finish on it, so the liquid color was the way to go with this one. And it looks really good. And then back then, of course, they had the Mountain Dew logos here, so they wouldn't do the Monster Energy logos. But I've got those custom made on there and on the roof, and then a little checkered flag because, well, he won. That's about to fall out.
That's beautiful, and that's good timing with this weekend. I'm going with just a classic Matt Kenseth championship scheme. But this is like the chrome version that they did back in the day. So I have like a gold version of one of his, I think his 2002 car. So I like to set these on the shelf together. Like it's like silver and gold almost. Looks really cool. Anyway, not too much else to it. I just have way too many Matt Kenseth cars. I figure I need to just start showing them all off week after week after week. But thank you to Lionel for sponsoring the show. That was the Diecast segment of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
Right, it was funny. Before we move on, I looked in the chat, and back to back was my mom and then my girlfriend who's in the other room. My mom goes, and we're very happy it's out of our garage.
Oh, the tire, yeah.
And
that's
then
funny.
Risk goes, I hate there's a lag on the stream compared to in real time because I heard a thud and I almost screamed because I literally just threw it away. My poor downstairs neighbors.
Oof.
What in the world's going on with it?
What's going on?
And then I see my wife said, "Thanks for showing off my diecast," because that's her diecast, not really mine.
Caught in 4K. Well, it's now time for the next segment of the show, the point where we become weathermen and try to predict the weather. This week, as seemingly is the case with every week, we've got a lightning and severe weather.
It's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jarrett, what do we have on tap tonight?
We got a lot, actually, like Eric was saying. So starting off, Bubba Wallace fans rejoice because he is re-signed and he has a multi-year extension with 2311, according to Adam Stern. Also, it looks like Ryan Blaney has a long-term contract extension with Team Penske as well. Chris Wright is going to be driving 9 of the last 12 Xfinity races for the number 68 Brandon-built Chevy, according to Bob. I love saying Bob's name like that. Bob. Also, Danny did a video on this earlier this week, and I think we've all been there at least. Mm-hmm. I know. I remember the 2019. I went out there. JP's NASCAR outlet in Crossville, Tennessee, is closing down in about 2 weeks, a little less. After being in business for 20 years, that's insane.
Yeah, go check out Danny's video on it for sure.
That is a huge deal. I think he said he's been in business for 21 years.
Wow.
7 countries would be represented in Sunday's Cup Series race at Watkins Glen. Of course, the U.S. and Mexico, but also the Netherlands, Germany, Russia, Finland, and England, which is a record for the Cup Series for most countries represented in a race.
Sorry, I was doing the Queen's music. I don't know if that's actually what that is.
Oh, good.
It's pretty accurate.
I need like a vuvuzela. Whatever they're called.
William Byron will drive the final Hendrick Motorsports race in the Xfinity Series, as the number 17 Chevy is expected to not return in 2023. Nielsen found that moving the numbers forward and making the brand's exposure bigger has given them more exposure. So, in other words, bigger stickers get seen better.
I also think wasn't Nielsen the same group that was hired that told the teams, oh yeah, if you do this, it'll give them 12% better value. So basically they're just confirming the thing they said a year ago. They're not going to be like, oh shoot, we were wrong. Never mind. It actually didn't give you any increased value. I don't know. How do they quantify that? It's
well, it's funny.
We were right. We told you so. That's what they're saying.
So Nielsen is like the only major company that does TV ratings. I was reading that they actually got decertified for that, and they just publish them anyway. So
I don't know how that works.
It's just kind of funny to look at. Like, are the ratings really real?
The
is
times
their data
are
real?
changing.
Well, something that looks like it's not going to be changing is Daniel Suarez's ride, as he's close to re-signing with Trackhouse, according to NBC Sports.
And he's earned it.
This is a rumor from Door Bumper Clear. Seems like they have one of those a week. They're pretty good at their branding. I'll give them that. GMS might shut down their truck program after this year. It's just a rumor. No, nothing really to back that yet, but something to keep an eye on. Sam Hunt Racing will field 2 Xfinity cars this week, or not this week, at Daytona in 2 weeks, with both Joe and John Hunter Nemechek in the cars.
When's the last time Joe Nemechek ran a race?
It's been a minute, yeah.
I think it's been like 2 years. I think it was like 19 or 20, maybe.
I think it was
1920.
No, 19 or 20.
I think it was 2020 in the Trump car.
Oh, it might have been. It might have been, yeah.
And it was a great car. Nobody's car was better.
God.
A new NASCAR game came out on the Nintendo Switch called NASCAR Rivals. I will say, for a Switch game, the graphics look nice.
The one trailer they posted was kind of fun. It was like the Rivals. It was like Logano and Kyle Busch facing off. It was Hamlin and Bowman facing off. I thought that was kind of clever.
Yeah, it was. Hey guys, do you guys have about $1.2 million collectively just laying around?
I wish.
Well, cool. Cool for Danny and Eric, because you can pitch in with me and help buy Richard Petty's 1960 Plymouth Fury, which is on sale on eBay right now for, well, last time I checked, 1.2 million. Might be more.
I didn't realize you could buy things like that on eBay for $1 million.
Nobody's going to buy that car for $1 million. No way.
Will my PayPal even let me transfer $1 million? If I had $1 million, do you think I could even PayPal him $1 million?
Hold on, I'll scroll down to it, because I'm pretty sure on the site when I looked it up, they had, you can do X amount. Oh wow,
you do a payment plan.
We're on our 200th episode. It got put on Reddit. Oh, this will be fun.
Oh god.
I love these comments. Here, I'm gonna read them after the race, but they're good, or the show. They're good. But let me find that car, because that's where I found it, was Reddit, and it was maybe it's gone now. Oh nope, here it is. All right,
someone
let's see
already
what
we
got. No, but you have 25 days left to buy it.
But how much? Wait, is it still listed at 1.2 million?
1.2 million. Yep. There are 54 watching it at the moment.
I'd be
they're watching.
Add me to the list. I'll just watch and see who's crazy enough to spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
What's going on outside? Oh, there's all the sirens are going on outside.
Oh, something's going down.
It's not coming through on our end, thankfully. So
yeah,
it's good.
Good goodness.
Well, and then finishing it off here, everyone remember, next Tuesday, August 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on IDK's channel will be the second annual NWP 400 at Daytona with next-gen cars on iRacing. So that should be pretty fun.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that about covers it.
Sweet deal.
Right, cool. And once again, that'll do it for another edition of the Lightning Round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show, everybody.
Before we can gossip about Texas Motor Speedway and Kyle Busch, this episode is also sponsored by our friends at Forney Industries. Get it done with green. Forney offers a full line of welding and plasma cutting machines, metalworking accessories, and more. It's great for do-it-yourselfers, or if you consider yourself a professional metalworker, Forney has everything you need for your next project. So you can shop all of Forney's top-of-the-line products online at forneyend.com. That link is down in the description below. Or look for them at an authorized Forney dealer near you. Look for that green logo, and you'll know you're in the right place. But thanks to Forney for sponsoring the show. On that note, we've got a couple more stories, like I just said, to get to before picks. Let's start with Texas Motor Speedway. It's on my channel this week, so we'll start with my home track, even though Coda's a little closer now. But according to Speed Freaks, which is a show that I just learned about on YouTube, but they have a decent following. I've been kind of following up on them the last couple days. But according to Speed Freaks, after 2023, Texas Motor Speedway is planning to blow up / reconfigure their racetrack once again in hopes of making the racing product better. So everyone on social media this week has been speculating, are they going to do a short track? Are they going to make it a 3-mile Texas super duper speedway? Are they going to do just something within the 1.5 mile confines? I kind of just want to open this up for sort of speculation here in the chat. It sounds, if this rumor is to be believed, that they are going to do something to Texas. But I'll start with you on this, Darian. What do you, not what you hope, you can maybe talk about that as well, but more what do you actually think realistically they're going to do to the track?
Realistically, and again, I had said this before on the whole new Atlanta deal. I thought just, making that its own little unique super speedway was, unique and awesome and all that stuff. And the only issue I had with it was that, okay, just keep it as that. Let's not make this a trend. And I don't know. I think personally, as much as I would love to have a short track, I think they're probably going to turn this into like a super speedway type deal, maybe. And it might start a slippery slope. I don't know, or they might just keep it at 2. I'm not sure, but I think that's the idea they have. They saw how well New Atlanta works and stuff. The first time around, and they have the All-Star race as well too, and they want to bring that excitement back to that race in particular as well. So yeah, I would love to have a short track, but personally I think it'll be a new hybrid super speedway.
Interesting. Danny, what do you think?
3-mile, 35-degree bank, Texas Mega Speedway. Let's do it.
I was trying
Let's
to
get
keep
a
things
Tiburon
somewhat
Speedway,
realistic.
a real life Tiburon Speedway. Let's go.
Everything's bigger in Texas, man. Come on.
Yeah,
It rides
why not?
itself.
Someone said
I
the
know.
world's largest Buc-ee's. Yeah, there you go.
Now,
That's a good idea.
I
That's
think they
actually
should,
coming to Tennessee.
I think they should do this though. Like whenever they blow it up or whatever, they should sell tickets and just have people watch. They'll be standing in a chair, just drinking and stuff, just so happy that it's being reconfigured. That'd be smart.
See, as much as I want to disagree that it's going to be a super speedway, I think the big point is it's going to be a major reconfiguration, is seen by the fact that they said it won't be, or more than likely won't be, compatible with IndyCar. IndyCar could race a 0.7 of a mile short track. They could race a 1.5 miles like they do now. They could race any of these options, but a really short track or a super speedway. So I think I don't think we're doing anything pre-2017 layout, though. Personally, I wouldn't mind that coming back because I thought that was actually a really good layout.
Yeah.
And I argued on this show that layout, back when Texas was that layout, it was a top 10 track. And I actually had a relatively good argument for it. Too bad I can't remember half of it. And it won't probably matter because I don't think that's what's going to be coming down the pipeline. I think it will be the super speedway way to go. I think that we've seen SMI do this before where they do something with one track, like what they did with Atlanta, and then they'll go and do it with another, like what they probably will do with Texas. You see that with Texas and Kentucky as well. Both of those had a pretty similar configuration to them. So I that's what I see happening. I see us having by 2024, we have 8 super speedway races on the schedule. And then people, people show up. People showed up to Atlanta in person on TV. They watched it in higher numbers than years past. So there's no reason to think Texas wouldn't do this.
Yeah. And to the whole earlier short track hope, it never does well in the ratings as well compared to those tracks. So yeah, it makes sense.
Texas is unique in that it has major grandstands, yes, but grandstands can be removed. But the difference is they have a lot of suites and box seats that span the entire front stretch. A lot of tracks they stop at some point. Not Texas. I'm sure it's physically possible to remove just chunks of that and maybe condense it into a short track like they're going to do at Auto Club supposedly. But I don't think it's as easy to do at Texas Motor Speedway as it would be at some of those other racetracks. So I believe, like Jarrett and Darian, they're going to stick with the 1.5 mile layout, but they'll probably increase the banking and try to do Super Speedway Atlanta. You just made a lot of good points, Jarrett. I don't disagree with any of them. And your last point about the at least initial boost in popularity Atlanta has seen, I think that had Marcus Smith's eyes lighting up. He knows exactly what can be done to fix Texas. And it'll be better racing than it is now, but I'm not thrilled about the idea of potentially adding another super speedway. I don't know that going back to the old 24-degree banking, just what it used to be, like that probably maybe is a better option, but if you do that, you're gonna have to wait a while for the track to wear. It's gonna still be kind of lame for a few years, and I don't know, are people patient enough for that? I don't think so.
See, I agree with Isaac in the chat who says if they do end up doing this, only give Atlanta one race and Texas one race. I that would be a good middle ground.
Yeah,
but,
that'd be a good balance, but I don't know.
Yeah, if they get the boost with 8 super speedway races, would NASCAR even attempt to do that? Like, why take away two races that could sell a lot better?
Yeah,
I agree. I don't know. I'm excited that there's movement and that we may not see current Texas for much longer. But what it turns into has me just as scared. I don't know.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued though. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy what Atlanta is right now, so I'd be okay with it.
I mean, I've talked to some people at different races this year who said they went to Atlanta for the first time this year because of what it was, and they loved it. So, I mean, you have to balance things. What do the fans want? What do the team owners and drivers want? Most of the team owners and drivers probably don't want another super speedway, but if enough fans want it, that it's a good return on your investment, then there might have to be a compromise. They might have to go for it, and we just deal with it.
What will do a combination of putting butts in seats and getting eyes on the TV?
Yep, but you also have to weigh the added costs for the teams, and you also have to weigh, you don't want to completely lose the interest of your drivers. If drivers continue to feel misled or ignored by NASCAR, then you'll see more and more early retirements, and you'll see more and more blowback, and ultimately that trickles down to the fans. If Kyle Busch is ripping on NASCAR every week, his fans are going to agree with him, and they're going to rip on NASCAR as well. And NASCAR needs to maintain some level of integrity and credibility, and if you get too many super speedways on the schedule, I fear they're going to lose that. That's
to a certain point. I get that, and I understand that, but at the same time, like, I've seen NASCAR be in situations where I just don't think they care too much. Like that.
I think they care. I just think I think in their eyes, potentially, this is all potential, they believe that, like I said, super speedways, the amount of people it's going to attract to the sport will outweigh all those other aspects, annoying drivers, annoying team owners, causing them to have to spend more money on crashed cars. NASCAR believes, I think if they do this, that means they truly believe that the costs will outweigh the losses, and we'll just see if that actually works out. They have not been great at assessing those risks in the past, but this is a different leadership team than it was 15 years ago, so we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. But as a Texas Motor Speedway fan, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm very excited. I'm excited that it's going to be something different. Yeah. We'll just see if it's better.
I'm hoping it's better now. I'm just, like I'd said this earlier in the week. It's one of those situations where it's like, be careful what you wish for, though.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like if Atlanta works and then Texas works, well, then there's no reason why SMI can't bring Kentucky back as a super speedway. Why
going back?
And Chastain, he said after the first Atlanta race, he's like, hopefully it stays dead. He doesn't want Kentucky to come back.
Again, it's like, as much as I don't like this idea, because the Daytona and Talladega, I've said it multiple times, I'll say it again, is they did super speedway racing and restrictor plate racing as a safety aspect, because the cars are getting too fast, getting airborne in front of fans. Completely understandable.
Yeah,
they're doing this for entertainment over safety. True. And it's a troubling trend that NASCAR has continued to do really since this regime took over. It's been a steady climb to this, where they continuously will just go as entertainment first, everything else including safety after, and that's where I have the big problem with. But I'm not also blind enough to see that I'm in the minority of fans here. It seems like a majority of fans, both casual and diehard, like this idea. And
yeah, exactly. So that's
the
how
direction
I feel.
they're going to go.
I don't want to stand in the way of something that a lot of other people are cheering on. So we'll just see how it plays out. One interesting question, I'll just kind of pose this as kind of a rhetorical question, but what does this mean for Circuit of the Americas if Texas gets 2 points paying dates back? Because that was the other rumor going around. If you go to TexasMotorspeedway.com, even for next year, they don't have a bunch of stuff for the All-Star race. They're promoting a spring race, which could be anything.
At this point, this was never a track owned by SMI. This was never a track owned by NASCAR. It was a leased track by SMI. So from a cost perspective, it might make more sense to do something like this.
I hope they go back to COTA next year and keep going back to COTA.
Yeah.
The fans turned out. First year got completely crapped on by rain. A lot of y'all were there.
Slapped with it.
And year 2, just as many people showed up, and the weather was beautiful, and the finish was dramatic. I hope Coda stays, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Bowman didn't even win there. He got second, guys.
But I mean, again, we talk about it with the Atlanta Super Speedway when it comes to what people watched. Coda was the least watched Fox race this year.
Was it really?
By a wide margin too. Like,
that's surprising.
3.7 million watched that race.
And that was on Big Fox. That's what you're saying.
It was on Big Fox. And the next closest was the Coke 600, which was about 3 months later at about 3.9 million. After that, everything else is just about at 4 or over 4 million.
I'd keep Coda because I think that number can only go up from here as it establishes itself as more of a marquee date in a rapidly growing, trendier city and market. So I wouldn't give up on it just yet. Yeah, I wouldn't give up. Even it's low now, but I think give it time to earn its respect and place on the schedule in the spring, and I think it can go up.
It's one of the few road courses they've added that it seems like universally fans are like, keep this one. We accept this one. I mean, you don't see that outside of Road America, but that one was more for, I think more people were arguing for Road America for what was replacing it more than actually liking it.
Yeah.
But like Coda, it seemed like was the most embraced of the road courses.
To be fair, I just verified something because Urban Alvarado put it in our chat. I mean, he sent the link to NASCARcoda.com. It does have lock in your 2023 tickets on here when you go to the website, but
so did Daytona for the Clash.
They could always say, hey, if you bought tickets to this, you're getting free tickets to Texas Motor Speedway in the spring. So
that's what happened with me is because I just renewed my tickets for Speed Weeks this past year, last summer, and at that point the Clash was scheduled to be at Daytona. Then when they announced it was in LA, they basically just like said, okay, for all ISC tracks, you get like, I think it was like $60 because that's how much my ticket would have cost. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do that with Texas and stuff. I think the fact that Fox said anywhere but Texas for the All-Star race, and then this stuff with the Texas, revamp and Texas being put back in the schedule, I have to think that might be what's honestly kind of one of the few tracks and dates left, since they're talking about not changing too much this coming year, that's actually really holding up the schedule announcement overall. Like they need to lock in what's going on with those two tracks before announcing the schedule.
All hinges on the great state of Texas. Wonderful. Love it. Sorry, I had to run real quick. I've been battling a cold for like over the past week, and I guess the doctor is in.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper. Yeah, the Dr. Pepper is the cure to a cold.
We'll see how that works. Last story before we get into picks, and sorry I had to miss the tail end of that conversation, but we got to talk Kyle Busch. It wouldn't be a week of NASCAR, discussion without debating Kyle Busch and discussing the latest rumors there. There's a few things to address. First and foremost, Kyle Busch told reporters at Richmond this week that his plan is to race for 6, 7, 8 more years, and that he wants to share a truck with his son Brexton Busch when he turns 16, and then eventually keep KBM around so that Brexton can race full-time when he's 18. Meanwhile, on today, I think it was today's episode of Stacking Pennies with Corey LaJoie said that Kyle Busch will not drive the 18 next year. He said, quote, "It's not happening." And then he said that Ty Gibbs is going to be in the 18. So that's a driver, not a Toyota driver. That's a driver saying that he thinks there's no chance Busch stays with JGR. He said
I don't think it'll happen.
LaJoie said that he's heard there are 2 Chevy teams, a Ford team, and potentially a way for Toyota to keep him probably through 23XI racing if Kurt retires, or maybe they get a third charter somehow, some way. One last note before I ask you guys the big question. Greg Zipadelli, who I believe is like the general manager for Stewart-Haas now, he addressed the media today and said that SHR, as of now, intends on keeping Cole Custer in the 41, and that Eric Almirola and the 10 car are the only sort of up in the air spots over at Stewart-Haas Racing. So they could be the Ford team, but it sounds like if they're talking to Kyle Busch, they're talking to him about the 10. But we'll wait and see. So the big question, I want to start with you, Jarrett. Stewart-Haas, colleague, a Trackhouse, you name it. Where will Kyle Busch race next year?
I mean, I'm still going to say Stewart-Haas, even if it's just the 10 car instead of the 41. I almost feel like the situation now, especially with us knowing that Custer will stay, at least from what they say right now, things can change. But at the moment with what we know, I feel like at this point, it's more we don't know. Almirola might come back if we can't get Kyle Busch in this car. That's what it feels like to me. I find it funny they say a mystery Chevy team is in there. I'm going to guess it's Trackhouse at the moment. Maybe they convert the Project 91 car into Kyle Busch's ride. But I'm still going to be the conspiracy theorist that says Hendrick Motorsports. I'm gonna stir that pot until honestly probably 2024.
Hey, last week I think the discussion was that there was just a Chevy team. Now it's two, according to Corey LaJoy. Yeah. So the odds of Hendrick being in there are going up by the week, Jared.
long term, because I still think, if they put just like a nice little patchwork deal together for 1 year with JGR. I think long-term, Hendrick Motorsports would be better served getting Kyle Busch, because with JRM moving to Cup, over time, they're probably going to lose a bit of that pipeline, because that pipeline will lead to the JRM Cup team over time. I would think that they would want to build in-house like they have before. And getting Kyle Busch Motorsports and possibly having KBM for trucks, probably trucks especially, but then also Xfinity might benefit Hendrick Motorsports long-term. So I'm just saying like that would be an option for them to go for, even if it's not in 2023, but instead 2024. But I'm thinking it is Trackhouse. It's probably that mystery team, because let's be real, Trackhouse has done crazier things in the last 2 years. I mean, they bought Ganassi. Like, I couldn't. Yeah, I'm not going to put it past them that they're not going to buy another charter out of nowhere.
I could honestly say, what's the point of Spire having 77 really?
Oh, do you think they're selling potentially?
I could say that could benefit the 7 car a lot to get an extra $10 million to go towards that team.
It'll be now it sounds like it might be 20
million.
Okay. Yeah, I'm being very generous, but still multiple millions of dollars could go to the 7.
Yeah. Charge it up more, get that Pitbull money.
Look, I mean, like, I haven't heard this many rumors about an athlete going to a new team since all of the freaking Ben Simmons trade rumors in the NBA.
So it's like LeBron's decision back in 2010.
Yeah, basically, you got these different scenarios here.
How many decisions did they have after that?
I want to see Kyle Busch do like an ESPN special where he plays
the decision.
He put like how high school kids will have a bunch of hats in front of them on draft day, and they'll be like, "Nope, I'm going to Duke." And they'll put the hat on.
Looking back, I was at that premiere for Rowdy, and looking back, they very much built that on the legacy he built with Joe Gibbs in the 18. Looking back on it, it's like, kind of some weird timing to release that.
Aged poorly, like immediately.
And we're hearing all these rumors from these different teams. Obviously, the surprise Chevy team, I think it's Trackhouse as well. Again, it's not out of their realm to do crazy stuff or whatever. So they've got a whole team, like Jared just said. But for Kyle Busch, there's a lot of factors that go into this. Obviously, he wants to go to a place where he can perform well and stuff. But then also, you just mentioned his plans. He wants to eventually share a truck with his son, when he comes of age and, starts progressing in his NASCAR career. So you also have to remember he has a team he runs, and Toyota and Joe Gibbs have been partners with that team for years up to this point. I mean, I feel like obviously, would he prefer to stay in the 18? Yes, but he doesn't have any leverage anymore, it seems, at this point, with Ty Gibbs progressing in his career, and he'll be a lot cheaper to put in, and he's family and he's Joe Gibbs' grandson at the end of the day. So I feel like the only scenario that he would stay in Toyota would be with 2311, but then you would have to sort out, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you had to sort out. It's like, okay, is Kurt Busch going to retire in order for him to get that seat or whatever? And then also, too, don't you think another factor that's running in his mind is that, damn, if I go to a new team, then I have to start all these different, connections as far as hey, who's going to get me my equipment for my truck team and stuff, who's going to give me certain crew guys or whatever.
I was actually just thinking about that. If he goes to a Chevy team, whether it's Colleague, Trackhouse, Hendrick, whoever it is, that rumor about GMS potentially getting rid of their truck team, they could potentially just bring in all their Chevy assets right over there to KBM.
Yeah, they could do that. And the thing is, though, is that we're just so late into the 2022 season that I feel like it's like, hey, you got to get the ball rolling with that stuff like right now. I feel like that's part of his contract negotiations. Like, because you're not just getting him as the driver, you're also getting him as, the team owner in the Truck Series as well. It's like, hey, I got, a Truck Series team. What are you going to do for me here?
Well, and depending on how good his son is, you could be hooking up a team with a good top tier driver.
I just thought about
for
that.
25 years.
A future prospect. Yeah, that's right.
And again, he might not pan out, but if he does, like that option of having someone who could be, you could have a young driver from that pipeline now that carries a team for 10 years, and then have another young driver come along that carries a team for like 15. Like, how much that kind of stability is like nearly non-existent in NASCAR.
So it's a special case scenario. I mean, like, I think that's a major factor that not a whole lot of people are talking about. And maybe that might be one of the reasons why contract talks have been so slow,
It sounds like KBM is, I don't know that it's much of a benefit to Busch at this point. I think it's almost slowing these negotiations down more than anything because of all that added complexity, like you guys were just talking about. So I'll chime in on this. I went ahead and put a poll up in the chat. Right now, our viewers are leaning heavily towards Busch going to SHR next year. I think his his best option is a Chevy team. We haven't really mentioned Colleague yet, but Matt Colleague's the kind of guy, I don't know exactly how deep his pockets go, but he's the kind of guy who might be able to supplement half of the season with, leaf filter, nutrient, whatever, one of their kind of in-house Colleague racing sponsors that, they could kind of fill out half the schedule. So they could get close to Busch's asking price, or maybe closer than others, and, kind of punt a lot of the sponsor negotiations down the line a ways. I feel like Colleague is sort of a sleeper in all this. SHR has made the most sense all along because Gene Haas has deep pockets, and we already know they had at least one ride potentially available. But boy, I don't think anyone's a clear favorite right now. I think the only thing that's clear to me right now is that Joe Gibbs Racing has fallen behind. I think they're third or fourth place right now. One other thing I didn't mention, that Corey LaJoie, and again, he's a Chevy driver for a completely different team, but one thing he mentioned is that he believes Kyle Busch has a few offers in front of him right now. Like, teams have actually, like, hey, boom, are you willing to do it for this price, these terms? And he may be in the process now of just weighing those options. I doubt any of those deals are for as much money as he initially wanted. They may not factor in KBM quite the way he wants. They may not give his son that pipeline like you guys were just talking about that he wants. But I think he has options. Not great options, but options. And, Denny Hamlin said it best. I don't remember what podcast he was on. It might have been Door Bumper Clear. It might have been Stacking Pennies. He was on a bunch of podcasts a couple weeks ago, but he was talking about like Kyle Busch's actual value. And he pointed out that if you win every race, like all 36 races, you make X amount of money. If you finish last in all 36 races, the only difference, I think, in purse money for like the year is like $6 million. So if you're saying the best driver is only worth $6 million more than like the worst driver in the Cup Series, and I'm probably getting the number slightly wrong, like, I don't know, like, that's not a ton of money. Kyle Busch is used to making probably double that, but that's because he came with a big sponsor. He might even be used to making triple that. So, that's when Hamlin and others talk about the next TV deal and how teams, the purse money should be a larger piece of the pie. That's so they can get that $6 million number to go up. Because, I don't know, I'll bet the contracts in front of Kyle Busch are for $6 million or something like that. Maybe plus incentives if they find sponsors or if he wins the championship or something. But I think Kyle Busch will race for someone next year. Like, there's always a fifth option that he doesn't race NASCAR at all next year. I think he'll be in a cup car. I think he'll be in a cup car. But at this point, I don't know. Like, the chat's still leaning SHR according to our poll, but it's not clear.
I just think that, the team that needs Kyle Busch the most out of the ones that we think are in the running, I think it is SHR who needs him the most. But more than that, I think the manufacturer who needs him and his resources the most is Ford. Ford right now does not have any real developmental realms of it. In the Truck Series, their top teams is David Gilliland Racing and Front Row, which is basically David Gilliland Racing repackaged. Then you have in the Xfinity Series, one SHR car and Ryan Sieg's team. That's the only real Fords that I can think of. And no offense to them, but they're no huge like developmental places. I think if KBM is suddenly a Ford team, granted the Monster Energy deal with Rowdy, I don't know how that would work, but I feel like Ford and Monster would push to get Deegan into a KBM ride if it become a Ford all of a sudden.
Yeah, I can see that too.
I don't know.
And again, you got to factor in, hey, Braxton Busch, he'll come of age and he'll be a hot prospect in NASCAR for sure when he comes in. So these manufacturers also have to think about that. It's like, hey, think about, 5 or 8 years down the line.
Whatever happens here now, I think this ultimately sets up the long-term future of KBM and even Braxton. So,
yeah. Or like Eric said, like, hey, I mean, it's a small chance, but that'd be crazy if he took a sabbatical year, basically. It was just like, I'll just like, I don't see that happening though, because I
still wish he would just run and get a truck championship. Yeah. Just get it out of your system, Kyle. I know you want it.
What is there to gain by him sitting out a year? I don't think so. I mean, like finding a better ride, maybe, but it sounds like he has a bunch of offers on the table. So what's the point of that?
Yep, we'll see. Kyle Busch likely gonna have to race for something under what he was hoping to get paid. We'll see.
Way under.
We'll see if he signs for a long-term deal. At this point, it's just who does he race for? Nobody knows. Chat 41% say SHR. So it's they're leaning forward. But now it's that time of the show where we get into the upcoming weekend, a highly anticipated weekend at Watkins Glen. Trucks back at Watkins Glen, or I'm sorry, not Trucks, Xfinity. My bad. Xfinity's at Watkins Glen. I'm still thinking about last year. Trucks are off.
I wish the Trucks were back at Watkins
Was it last
Glen.
year they were at Watkins Glen for like the first time ever? Yeah. Xfinity is racing on Saturday. It's the Sunoco Go Rewards 200. They just landed that title sponsor. It's an 82-lap race that'll start at 3 p.m. Eastern on USA, also MRN for radio. 88 degrees with a potential thunderstorm, 41% chance of rain. Ty Gibbs is the most recent Watkins Glen Xfinity Series winner, and he is once again in the field, of course. The Cup race on Sunday is the Go Bowling at the Glen. I didn't write down what mile is it. Is it even like probably
I thought it
350 or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. It's a 90-lap race, so I guess do the math. I don't know. It starts at 3 p.m. Eastern on USA and MRN as well. 87 degrees, a little muggy, some thunderstorms potential, 40% chance of rain. Let's just hope the lightning stays away. Of course, they can always race with windshields and rain tires, or windshield wipers and rain tires. Kyle Larson won last year's Watkins Glen race. Darian, you got the betting odds for us this week? Who are the favorites?
By the way, it's 220.5 is the mileage. I think it's like 350 or 355 kilometers.
That's right.
Yes, the betting odds on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Chase Elliott, no surprise here. He is the race weekend's favorite at plus 500. Tyler Reddick plus 600. So hey, he's earned a lot of praise for on-road courses after his first career win. Kyle Larson plus 900. Ross Chastain plus 1,000. And also tied with him is Martin Truex Jr. As for the best of the rest, Ryan Blaney plus 1,200, Daniel Suarez plus 1,400, Chase Briscoe plus 1,500, along with AJ Allmendinger, and then Christopher Bell plus 1,800. And now for the underdogs portion, Chris Buescher, or called by some Christopher Buescher now, is plus 2,500. Brad Keselowski plus 4,000, along with Michael McDowell. Kimi Räikkönen, making his Cup Series debut, is plus 5,000. I was a little surprised about that, but hey, he is in a trackhouse car after all, so we'll have to see how he performs. And finally, Eric Jones is plus 10,000. Now for the NWP Fantasy League, it's Trevor Sports 98. He's on it, man. He has nearly 100-point lead over Toyota Tough in second. In third is 48 Nation. Fourth is Jets 48. And rounding out the top five is Recce Spinhouse. Well, his name is fitting after what happened last weekend. But yeah.
Dang. Good stuff. Yeah, as Jarrett mentioned earlier during the lightning round, a lot of interesting characters racing this weekend. Unique names. 7 drivers from foreign countries outside the United States racing.
A record for NASCAR.
For sure. That's Kimi Räikkönen certainly leading the way. All eyes will be on Kimi in the 91 Trackhouse car. I thought it was interesting that the difference in how some Cup Series drivers talked about it. I forgot. I think there was a couple drivers like Chase Elliott, I want to say, who said, he expects Räikkönen to be very competitive, top 15, maybe top 10, top 20. But Denny Hamlin said no, he thinks it's just a publicity thing. Did you hear that? Denny Hamlin was like, "Oh, okay." So we'll see.
It's a team that's won
2 road courses this year.
Yeah, 2 road course races this year.
It's worth noting. All right, before we get into our picks, we got to touch on my favorite segment of the week. I've said that about like 4 segments so far. This is actually my favorite segment of the week, the pick points. Yours truly is leading the way with 434 total. I slightly gapped the chat a little bit this week. They're 18 points back in second. Darian, you're third, minus 75. Danny is minus 87, and Jarrett minus 97, sitting happily on his season 4 trophy for the time being.
I'm coming for you, Darian.
Yeah, they're creeping up on me, man. Hey, I gotta get it together.
That final podium spot is still very much up for grabs. So chat, let me end the poll from earlier. Chat, you guys know the drill. Leave your picks down in the chat, and we'll do our best to kind of pick out who seems to be the consensus favorite. Our first topic, we'll start with the winner of the Xfinity Series race. I guess since we go in order of points, I'll go first. I'm tempted to say Ty Gibbs, but I'm going to step outside my comfort zone here. I'm going to go William Byron. He's a Cup Series driver, so maybe that's not too far out on a limb, but he struggled lately in Cup. Like, ever since he got punted from the lead at Darlington, I feel like we haven't said his name once on Sundays. I think Saturday is a great chance for him to build some of that confidence back up. I think he will win in that Hendrick number 17.
This is a very easy one for me, AJ Allmendinger. So I'll just leave it at that. His record speaks for itself.
I like what you're thinking, Eric, but a guy who has not been struggling so much over the Cup Series, and the reason Byron is in that 17 is because the 88 is occupied. Kyle Larson is who I'm going with.
I'm also going to go AJ Allmendinger on this one. It's the safest bet, and Lord knows I need to make sure I don't go too far back.
Well, the chat, seems to be a pretty clear consensus. AJ Allmendinger is their pick to win the Xfinity Series race. So we have a few Allmendingers, chance to make up points or lose points on me, chat. We'll be watching that one pretty closely. Then for the Cup race, we always do 3 different levels or layers of picks. We'll start with our who's going to suck this week pick. I'll kick things off. I'm not going to do anything too creative here. I'll just say Austin Dillon, not a great road course racer statistically. I'll throw his name out there.
Yeah, easy one. And he even said after getting his pole at Michigan, I mean, he was even joking about it and stuff, saying, "Oh yeah, I have a chance to win here." And then all of a sudden he starts laughing. So Bubba Wallace, I don't see him doing too well this weekend.
Yeah, I hope he enjoyed the run while it lasted. Bubba Wallace, not a good weekend.
I'm going to be on the same vine but different branch as Eric, Ty Dillon.
Yeah.
And chat, you're seeing your usual Custers and Almirolas. I think it's Eric Almirola.
It's Almirola.
Yeah. I see a lot of 10s.
They're not picking him for a road course like they did that one time.
No, not this time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a road course. That's right.
Road America.
Yeah.
Next up, and again, these first 2 are not for points, but the Cup Series Dark Horse. Again, I'll kick things off. Why not? Christopher Buescher. He's been great at road courses this year. He's been all over. He's been at the tip of everyone's tongue the past few days. I think he'll be top 5. I think he'll back up that Sonoma run. Where did he finish at Road America? Wasn't he competitive there as well? I don't remember. I think he was like 6th. I may be wrong about
top
that.
10, I thought.
I may be wrong about that. Buescher.
So I had alluded to him like maybe in a dream world winning on Twitter, but I mean like it's his Cup debut. Like I mean I think he'll be very competitive. But Kimi Räikkönen, I'll have him as my dark horse man. I mean, hey look, I'm not even like thinking about his F1 resume. He spent some time in some sports cars recently. So hey, that might play. That's what I'm saying. It might play a role into this weekend. So.
Crazy stat about him. He's I think the first driver, or one of the first drivers ever, to make all 3 of his first 3 NASCAR touring starts in all 3 top series.
Oh yeah.
It's his 3rd start. He had 1 Xfinity, 1 truck, now 1 Cup.
Yeah.
1 and done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, basically, yeah. But yeah, I'll pick him as my dark horse.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Kimi on this one. I think if he gets a top 15, that's a great day. And that's kind of with this kind of equipment, with Trackhouse, I would say it's almost expected for like a 15th place finish. If he does better than that, hey, good on him.
This guy did pretty good at Indianapolis and got a finish that showed it. I'm going Todd Gilliland on this one.
Oh, yeah. He was really good at Indianapolis. Like he earned that top 5, right? Yeah, he earned that top 5. Chat seems to be going Räikkönen as well. A lot of 91s. A lot of McDowell's though for you, Jarrett, but I think it's Kimi Räikkönen.
McDowell supremacy.
Yeah, 91 though. Definitely went out. And now on to the main event. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win at Watkins Glen, Eric?
I'm gonna go Tyler Reddick. Man did not put a wheel wrong all day at Indianapolis, and really didn't at Road America either. I don't know, hottest road course racer in the Cup Series. He's won the last 2. Chevy's been so good. Yes, Chase Elliott will be competitive. Yes, I'm sure Chastain will be competitive. Heck, Suarez may be in contention for another win. I have no idea. but I'm going with Tyler Reddick. He looked so smooth a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Chevy's been really good on the road courses this year, especially included in that family Trackhouse Racing. I mean, I already got Kimi Räikkönen as a dark horse. Hey, look, when the two main Trackhouse cars are on it, man, they are on it, man. So I'm gonna go with Ross Chastain this weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chase Elliott on this one.
Ditto, because I think that if Elliott wasn't taken out at Indianapolis, he beats Reddick.
Yeah, that is true.
He was very competitive.
But that just went back to what Eric said though. Reddick never made a mistake. Chase was in a situation where it wasn't his fault, but he was in the wrong place.
He was right next to Reddick. I mean, and the thing about Indy is like that's pure chaos. Or this one,
yeah,
this
race is like Watkins Glen races like its own road course. It's not like the other ones.
Well, the chat. Did you make your pick, Jarrett? Sorry.
Yeah, Chase.
Chat, I think, is also going Chase Elliott as well. So we do have a lot of Chase support.
So this gives everyone a chance to kind of catch up on Eric a little bit.
Standings are going to jumble up a little. We all picked some different picks throughout these last few rounds. So that's good stuff. Good stuff, chat. Thank you, everyone, for playing along. We didn't even have to poll them this week. Pretty much everyone on the same page. That's always good. Like a hive mind.
Well, they were going 8, and then you picked Reddick. They're like, no, go 9.
No, 9. Yeah, they changed it.
I think when I saw me go for it and Jarrett go for it, I said, yeah, we're going that direction.
They went with the two guys that are in the basement right now. I hope that works out for y'all, chat.
The guy who beat you last year.
To be fair, I was near. I think I was 100 back at one point. I've climbed back into respectable minus.
Yeah, that's true. Danny's on a hot streak actually.
I've had a fairly good summer swing here, unlike my driver.
He put some fresh tires on and is working his way up through the field. That's good to see. Well, that's gonna do it. We got to wrap up now by addressing the remaining super chats, of which there are many. I hope and pray my voice does not go out here over the next several minutes. We have a ton. I will do my best to get through these efficiently. Thank you, Ma Fire, I believe. Blaney made a mistake staying at Penske, not Hendrick. How do you guys feel about Blaney's extension?
That's not a mistake, bro. Penske's like one of the top teams.
There's no room for it at Hendrick.
That's a place where he can beat a superstar.
Yeah.
Dan, thanks for the 10. He says, Eric, we need out of the groove hats, please. Yes, I get a lot of comments on the hats I've been wearing the last few weeks. They are very nice. We have only a few made, though. Trying to get more made so that maybe we can give some away, eventually start selling them perhaps. But yes, I'm glad you guys dig the hats. They do look pretty cool. Somehow they fit my gargantuan head. So that's great. Need for Speed 5353. Praise Ty Dillon. That's all he left. So there you go, Ty Dillon fans. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Nuazgazgazg. I don't know how to say that. Harvick is not the championship favorite now with Chase, or Harvick is the championship favorite now with Chase sucking. I don't know if Chase Elliott's been sucking. He had like one bad race at Michigan, but I mean, I guess very fickle. What have you done for me lately? Nova Stone 12, thank you for the 2. Harvick has not won at Phoenix since the reconfiguration. That is a good point.
No, that is a fact.
That is a good point. Although, when did they last repave the track? Was it in like 2018-19, or when did they last repave it? It's been a while.
Wasn't it 19?
Was it? Maybe it was.
Yeah, it was between the. Wasn't it between the two races?
Oh, that sounds right. Okay.
They've done it so many times.
I've lost track.
I've forgotten.
Jarrett's brother, once again, he left a chat a while ago saying burger. I hope that's how that's pronounced. Berger. I don't know. Berger.
Darian will know that a little bit based on Riley's trolling.
Napa Racing fan, always good to see you. Can NASCAR make Texas have one race on the schedule? If they go super speedway, maybe that would work. J.K. Reader, J. Crater, I hope I'm saying that right. First off, congrats on 200. Have an idea for playoffs that rewards consistency and wins. Make the top 16 playoff points get in. Top 10 earn playoff point, leading the most laps can get you some playoff points and wins. 2. So factoring wins, I guess, basically, but basically it's top 16 and playoff points. Okay, that's a little more specific. I don't know. I'd like that. That'd be interesting. Does like Martin Truex Jr. He's won some stages this year, so he might have enough playoff points to bump his way in under this format. Costain sent 2, said congrats on 200 episodes. Hit it before JGR did and wins. Just hitting go live on YouTube's a little easier than winning a Cup Series race, but we appreciate the support. Right Size Only podcast, we had them on earlier this season, sent a couple super chats, said congrats on 200 episodes, we're so honored to have been a small part of the show. Here's to the next 200 from Turnpike and Green. Appreciate you guys. Always good to see you. Chris Contino dropped that 100 earlier. I believe, if I recall, Archer won our poll for what he should name his second son or his upcoming child. So good luck, Chris. Hope that works out for you. Wishing you and your family the very best. Thank you for the support. 54 Designs sent 5, said, and then Kyle consistently slumped. At least he's consistent, whether good or bad. That's true. Kyle was consistently good, consistently bad. Consistent. That's all anyone ever asked for. Melon Smasher 1, thanks for the 10. He says, congrats, Jarrett and the podcast on 200 episodes and a good race at Richmond. Sad to see one of my boys, Joey, lose, but congrats, Harvick, on the win. Also, Ratatouille is overrated. Then he wrote in parentheses, Eric, read it all. He wanted me to read that last bit.
Read it all.
I did, Melon Smasher, whether I disagree or not. Well, I do disagree. It's not a whether, it's I do disagree. James Greer, thank you for the 10. Congrats on 200 episodes. Thanks to NASCAR letting me make payments. I bought tickets and pit passes for the Talladega race. My son is going to be ecstatic. This will be our first time. Sweet deal.
Awesome.
Good time.
That's good.
The infield experience at a Talladega is very nice since they revamped it a few years ago. So you'll all have a good time. Appreciate the support. Thank you, Tyler Dotson. Let's say you're starting a Cup team. What current driver do you get? What number is it? And what is the manufacturer? For me, it's LaJoy 95 Toyota.
Kyle Busch.
Kyle Larson and Chevy.
I'd do a Larson Chevy number like 44.
Yeah, or 25. Bring the 25 back.
Ross Chastain Chevy in the 8.
I would get Kyle Busch, bring back the number 27, and I'd call Paul Menard and say, can you sponsor this one?
Yeah, there you go. Throw back the Paul Menard every week.
Marky Mark says, here's to Chastaining someone at the Glen. Very nice. Groovy Goose sent to CIA equals Chastain Incident Authority. Crash the Hedgehog. Ross Chastain sneezes wrong. JGR commits a 2012 Phoenix-style brawl. James Greer again says, going to be cold at the Glen with the Iceman in town. Ooh, I like that reference. Riegzer, congrats on 200 episodes. It's been an honor to listen to the podcast and look up to y'all on my journey as a Canadian NASCAR content creator. Go Blaney. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope the journey's treating you well so far. Thank you, Nova Stone 12. With Texas possibly getting a reconfiguration and a mile and a half being cut, do you think the fall Charlotte race is going back to the oval so that they have more mile and a half races?
This is really whatever you all think, but honestly, I'd kind of be okay if we just saw regular Charlotte again. That's just me.
The 600 is so good.
The way the viewerships went down at the Roval, I wouldn't be surprised if it went down again this year if they take it off.
Yeah, if it keeps going down, then yeah, they'll take it off probably.
Thank you, The Outside Line. Happy 200 episodes, guys. Crazy that Harvick goes from nothing to championship contender. Hoping Blaney gets the surprise win at the Glen or outright at Daytona. I don't think he'll get in on points. Ooh, so he thinks we might get more winners. Thanks for the super chat. Thank you, Speedway Anywhere. AJ will win and steal the chance from series regulars. So he's making his prediction early on there. Josh Barnes, thank you for the 20. What's everyone's local short track? Mine was Louisville Motor Speedway. UPS bought the land and they built Kentucky Speedway.
Damn.
How you guys all kind of live in the same area now? I guess for me,
I mean, hometown one.
Oh yeah, that's true. You got Rockford Speedway, which is very nice.
We can talk about where we grew up and where we are now. So, like for me, where I grew up was Tazewell Speedway, 1/3 mile, very very high bank, like 30-degree bank, short dirt track. And then now here there is, of course, National Fairground Speedway, but then there's Highland Rim Speedway, which is right up the north from us.
How many other F1 tracks?
I have
about 5 others, right? But no, for me,
they're all underground.
For me, back home at Las Vegas at the Bull Ring, some of y'all know I used to intern out there. Basically got my start, kind of my start in the business, kind of started out there and stuff, doing the interviews and stuff like that there. And now I'm, living out here in Nashville. Now my local short track is the Nashville Fairgrounds, and now I'm doing social media for them and stuff too. So it's interesting how that works out. Yeah, I don't know, I got to stay grassroots, right? It's a grassroots organization.
I didn't think about that. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I guess, when I lived in Austin, I went to Cotton Bowl Speedway about an hour outside of the city. I went to a World of Outlaws race there. But yeah, now in Houston, I guess Houston Motorsports Park, I don't think they've torn it completely down yet or closed it yet. Maybe it's still open. I don't actually know.
And you mentioned it earlier. Mine was Rockford Speedway. I lived like less than a mile. I was like an easy walk away from that. Every Saturday night we'd hear just the,
Nice.
of late models.
Cool.
And of course Chicagoland Speedway. But then now it's Nashville Fairgrounds and Nashville Super Speedway for NASCAR track.
Good stuff. Next, we had a super chat from Amelia. Said, congrats on 200 episodes. Love y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jay Creeder175. Y'all going to Dega in October? Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially. It's like a penciled in, perhaps. Novastone12, thank you for the 2. Richmond should be dirt, so Bristol can have 2 concrete. I wouldn't.
No one showed up.
I know. I don't. Jerry, you gotta stop telling me who showed up and who didn't. I will show up. I'll buy the whole place out.
I showed up.
I'll take out a third mortgage or something, and I'll buy up the entire place. I don't know.
It's like that episode of SpongeBob. Eric, if you tried it, you'd love it.
GN NASCAR fan, always good to see you. And honor number 200, old NASCAR Weekly podcast memes. Oh boy, Todd Blue,
croissant.
Mickey Wynn. He has croissant. Pole. Yep. Boo Harvick. I would kill myself before I'd wreck Bobby Allison for the win. That was Mark Martin's famous line on the show.
He said he would slit his own throat.
Yeah, he got really graphic. But thank you for the super chat, GN NASCAR fan. Napa Racing fan, appreciate it. Should Richmond put the sealer on again? I've seen a lot of people throw that around. Possibly. I don't know how big a difference it would make.
Yeah.
We'll see. Rosh Crashtain. Yes, my protege. Car spin Hocevar. Oh, no. Appreciate that. Scott McNew, thanks for the 2. Funny part is that it's Arca West Racing. Oh, this is the super chat you pointed out, Jared.
Oh, yeah.
Phoenix, or whoever pointed out. Marky Mark said speed. For Speed Freaks, Dave Despain wants to know your location. Anything with speed.
I see in the chat, Denny delivers Todd Blue as a goat.
Hey, might go the 18 car next year.
Hey, you just mentioned Dave Despain. We had him on the show.
Yeah. I don't remember what season that was. 2 or 3, maybe.
2, I think, right?
2, I think.
NASCAR Bowman 48. Top 10 are all in the top 10 are into the playoffs. Who can clinch after Watkins Glen? We all just gave our picks. We all think it's not going to be Blaney or Truex or anyone outside the top 16.
If there's no new winner, all the winners currently that are on the bubble would lock in.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Peter Strata, always good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Here's 200 pennies for 200. He sent $2 super chat. Here's to 200 more. Appreciate it, Peter. Hope to see you at the track again soon. The Super Squad, thanks for the 5. Congrats on 200 episodes. Haven't always been able to watch live due to my schedule, but I always try to watch the replays. Keep up all the great work. Thank you, Super Squad. Always good to see you as well. Thank you, Chad Sessions, for the 10. I understand comp cautions, but Michigan, for instance, with more rain in the area, why stop the race can risk less laps getting clicked off. NASCAR and their competition cautions. They are, I don't want to say they're inconsistent, but they are occasionally frustrating for sure. Especially when they throw the yellow and nobody pits. It's like, oh god, what was the point? Thank you, Jam Plays Games. I posted the podcast on Reddit. Sorry if
we saw it.
Yeah, it's all good.
I've already read it in my spare time.
Thank you for supporting it. But hey, some of the Reddit comments. Hey,
we're the Reddit,
it, bro.
Does Reddit not like us?
I don't
know.
How will I sleep at night?
I will lose sleep over this one.
But thank you for posting this, though. Hey, always good to see some of y'all showing us love in there.
Just no offense. I know some of y'all like Reddit too, but hey, for us, we're on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, TikTok, whatever we're on. We'll keep it at that.
Yeah.
Ryan Bosher, thank you for the 10. How do you guys feel on William Byron making a playoff run with Homestead being in the round of 8? I would even go and predict he makes it to Phoenix. That's a good point. We haven't really sat down and looked round by round for each driver just yet. We did a little bit today talking about Kyle Busch's Roval struggles. I'll have to sit down and do it, but that's a good point about Byron at Homestead. He won there last year. We know he's good at Homestead, so that could bode well for him. Manona fan, thank you for the 5. Nice to meet you at Darlington, Eric. Would you support a NASCAR drunk driver series where the drunkest wins at Brian France Diecast? I think they have a hard time selling sponsorship for that. That's my initial reaction. Thank you, Jupiter Rain. Jupiter Rain for the 2. NASCAR is removing mile and a halfs, which has the best racing. Homestead, that'd probably be my pick.
Homestead.
I know you're gonna say Chicagoland, Jarrett, but I'm sorry.
Well, if current one's Homestead,
okay.
Homestead.
We have still a lot more of these. I'm going through them as best I can. I appreciate everyone hanging out. This is fun, though. A lot of good questions or comments.
Yeah.
Hunter Nixon Fishing. If we could make Texas a figure eight, it would absolutely be perfect. And he attributes that fake quote to Tony Stewart. Yeah, that does sound like something he would say.
I like that. I like that, Hunter. Also good to hear from you, man.
Yeah.
54 Designs again. Hope y'all like the Super Chat stage break design. Yes, he's the one who tweeted it. It was on Twitter, right? That's really cool. Yeah, we appreciate that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Love to see fan stuff on Twitter and other social media. Thank you, 00 Music. Here's to 200 more. Thank you all for what you do. Well, thank you for the support. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Isaac, thank you. KFB to the 48, but it's rebranded to the HMS 88 LMAO.
Oh,
we'll see.
That'd be funny.
That would get the fans thrilled, I imagine.
What'd you say?
Freshness, thanks for the 2. Imagine Kyle Busch goes to Trackhouse.
Might not have to imagine.
We kind of did earlier.
Yeah, we sort of tried to. Yeah, it's a I would never rule out Justin Marks. That's what I've.
It's a possibility. Yeah.
Thank you. Better than that last idea.
Well, Tyler Dotson disagrees. He says KFB doesn't fit with the Trackhouse mentality.
Ooh. Hey, then it's kind of, maybe he's got a little bit of a point, maybe. Because Trackhouse, they share everything. You think Kyle will be willing?
It does feel like kind of a one-for-all sort of mentality there. I don't know how Kyle would fit in. That's a good point, especially considering his Chastain comments recently. Nova Stone 12, thank you for the 2. HMS in 15 years will be Larson, Elliott, Leo Gordon, and Brexton Busch. Ooh, okay.
Is Gordon's son even racing? I'd never.
I thought
he raced
follow drivers' kids. I'm sorry.
I thought he was, but now that you say it, I haven't really kept any sort of tabs on him in a couple of years.
Me neither.
He may not be.
I don't
focusing.
Follow.
He stepped away from racing to focus on kindergarten and first grade. I have no idea. Crash the Hedgehog, thanks for the 5. Another thing to note: KB is looking for a long-term contract. I imagine, hence why in the past he said it was never about the money. I think he would like a long-term contract if the money is right. See, when Kyle says it's not all about the money, he means the money still is a very important factor in these negotiations. So
he's not saying it's entirely irrelevant.
It's not everything. Like maybe he'd take a little less money if it meant 5 years of security. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Zach Taylor, thanks for the 5. Who do you think will be the driver of the 9 Xfinity car? I would say Zane Smith. Have we talked about that? Did we talk about that last week?
Zane Smith's in the Ford camp.
Yeah, he's signed on Ford long term.
It's likely won't be him. But
Hocevar.
So people say Hocevar.
I would love to see Hocevar in that car. Yeah.
Who's the other one? Oh, Drew Dollar that was all the rumors about Drew Dollar. I doubt that happens, but we'll see. You never know. This was a random one from Milton Valenzuela. He says the NASCAR playoffs need Chris Collinsworth.
Slide in.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it needs a little
I'll tell you what, right now, this guy's been running 30th all day, but he's really doing it well.
Now there's a guy who will get you a top 25 finish. I don't know. JS Ski, thanks for the 5. Should Fontana be a playoff race or should it stay the second race of the season? Also, what do y'all get on your Subway sandwich?
I don't get Subway.
I don't eat a Subway either, but I guess just insert generic sub sandwich here. What do you get?
Meatball marinara.
It's not bad.
Depends on my mood. Sometimes I would get a steak and cheese or one of their pizza subs, but almost always Italian herbs and cheese is the bread to go with.
When I used to eat there all the time, it was an Italian BLT or BMT. Excuse me, BMT.
Those are pretty good too.
Yeah,
I like Danny's idea. Although sometimes I'll just go get just something basic, just meat, cheese, lettuce, and I'll call it good. Thank you, NASCAR Bowman 48 for the 5. What do y'all think of Richard Childress still upset with Reddick due to him leaving 2311 and announcing it early?
It's business, man. Get over it, bro. It's business. Get over it.
If he drops Reddick, out before next year, out of spite, I feel like that's just. Yeah. How can you take yourself seriously as a team owner at that point? I understand the frustration, but do what's best to win. Reddick in that car next year, even if it's for 1 year, even if morale is awkward, that's your best shot to win.
Mm-hmm. Get over it.
Thank you, Emma Martin, probably Mark Martin fan for life. Congrats on 200. Bubba gets a top 5 this weekend. Ooh, that was a bold prediction.
That's a bold prediction.
You got a top 5 in the last one?
Yeah, that a bit chaotic, but hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You never know.
Never know.
Thank you for the 2. We only have a few left, guys. Groovy Goose, thank you. Can you think of any NASCAR Mandela effects? That's isn't that something where it's everyone kind of accepted something as fact and then realized it wasn't? What?
I got one. People always think it's 20 years of trying, 20 years, and blah, blah, blah. And Dale Earnhardt comes to the checkered flag. It's actually caution flag.
Mm-hmm.
To win the Daytona.
That's such a random one. Like, I never.
But people always think he's coming to the checker. No, he's coming to the caution.
Oh, another thing is too, Dale Sr. never really passed in the grass. It was a save in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, technically. Yeah.
He
saved it.
There's some good ones. Napa Racing Fan, again, another one. Thank you. Happy Richard Petty episode. I get 200 minutes. The best guests so far were Alan Bestwick, Mark Martin, Alex Bowman, and William Byron. Those were all really good episodes. Keep making great content.
Guests.
Yeah, thank you so much, Napa Racing Fan. Glad you enjoyed those. I agree. The Bestwick and Mark Martin episodes were still like bucket list, like top tier.
Who are some other like random guests you guys would like to have one day?
That we haven't had yet?
Yeah.
The guy who tried to get Matt Kenseth's autograph at Watkins Glen.
Yes. Maybe that guy.
The catch fence climber from Richmond in 2014.
Yeah.
I'd like to be like, what's it like knowing you're forever banned from a racetrack?
Gosh.
I feel like it'd also be cool to get Cletus McFarlane on here someday.
That's a good one, for sure.
That'd be good.
We gotta make that happen.
Yeah. Or Frankie Muniz too. Maybe he's racing
Frankie
now.
Muniz,
He's racing.
There you go.
Hey, that'd be cool. That'd be a good one. Yeah.
I got to catch up on Malcolm in the Middle before we do that, so I know what I'm talking about. I'm sure he loves people just bringing up Malcolm in the Middle. No, I'll bring up Agent Cody Banks. That'll get us.
Yeah.
Or liar.
Liar. Yep.
All right, we got just a few more.
Wait. Liar or big fat liar?
Oh no, big fat liar. Big fat liar. There you go.
There
you go.
Sounds like another Slapshoes video title. Rosh Crashstain, thank you for the 5. Hendrick bribes NASCAR to get rid of the 4-car rule. KB to the 48. Bowman back to the 88. I like that. Very bold, very conspiratorial. We love it. Bold Aphid Gaming, thank you for the 10. Jimmy Johnson as a guest one day. We had Jimmy on, I think, at the end of 2020.
Yep.
Yes. It'd be great to get Jimmy on again, especially maybe if he runs the Indy 500 again next year. He does maybe the NASCAR double, as many are hoping he'll do. He probably won't. I don't even know if it's physically possible to do it these days with how they're scheduled. But yeah, love to have Jimmy Johnson on again someday. Thank you, Ryan Idius. Pinty Series ran its first dirt race yesterday. That's cool. I didn't get to see it, but I hear nothing but good things about the Pinty Series. Definitely need to start paying closer attention to that. NASCAR Bowman 48. I think Parker Kligerman should get a shot in the JRM9 car for at least a year to start. That'd be pretty cool. I saw a lot of people mentioning this earlier, but there are a couple of drivers. One of them is Parker Kligerman, who's actually ahead of like some of the Nice drivers and trucks, and Haley Deegan in points, despite making like half as many starts. So no, I don't mean that as a slight to Deegan or to like Lawless Allen and them.
That's not
but
good.
I'm trying to point out how great Kligerman has been in that 75 truck. And I believe this is our last super chat of the night.
Are you sure?
I hope so. Not because we don't love the support, but because my voice is absolutely dying. And my Dr. Pepper, can you hear the empty spaces? I'm running low. BW, thank you for the 2. Byron out in round of 16. Suarez makes the round of 8. Ooh, we've got an early, bold playoff prediction. I love it. Yeah. One more from Groovy Goose. Wait, is that the last one? Did I miss the one from Groovy Goose? No. My screen just like glitched. Like Groovy Goose popped up. He's everywhere. I'm seeing him in my nightmares. No more from Groovy Goose. Sorry, Groovy Goose. Well, not sorry. Extra little shout out, bonus shout out. We always appreciate your support, hanging out in the chat. I think he's a mod as well on this channel, so we appreciate you keeping order for us.
Thank you.
That's gonna do it, gentlemen. We've done it. 200 episodes. Jarrett, I will get you your perfect attendance certificate next time I see you, or I'll put it in the mail. You've earned it, my friend. Here's to the next 200.
But really quick, like we're at the end of the show. Can we all take a moment just to say what the show means to each of us?
No, I think we can go.
Yeah, start us off, Jarrett, man. Just what does the show mean to you, man? I mean, you're the founder of it, basically. So it's great to see how far we've come so far.
Yeah, I mean, it for me, it just kind of represents like everything post 2017 NASCAR for me. I know I said the reason I wanted to try and start this was to try and connect with people and talk to people and like NASCAR post Dale Jr. because pre 2018 I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do, but I didn't want to stop watching the sport, and I didn't expect any of this. I think I actually around now is when we're talking in season 1. I remember we had a conversation being like, around season 5, we should probably be like trying to get at least our first cup driver on.
I remember those conversations. Yeah.
So I think we've exceeded our own expectations. It's been fun. All 4 of us have become really close, really good friends, and we have a bunch of people in the chat every week and comments that are, formed a really, really tight knit community, and it's fun to see, and I'm happy about it, and I can't wait for 200 plus more.
Yeah, look, this show means the world to me. You guys mean the world to me. I love you guys so much. I mean, look, when I was first starting out on YouTube, early 2018, like 2.5 months in, I was so bored. I was getting a lot of traction, but I was so bored because I'm like, okay, like, yeah, it's cool to read the comments and stuff, and I post videos here and there, but I had no one else to really talk about it with. And then all of a sudden, I see a DM back when YouTube had DMs. Remember those days?
Yeah.
That's how far we started, bro. That's how far we've come. But yeah, I see it from Jared, and I'm like, let me give this show a chance.
A month late.
Yeah, it was a month late. See, I was spending time in Reno during spring break of 2018. I saw it, and I came home plastered to my hotel, and then I just forgot about it. So I would have joined a month earlier if I wasn't so plastered. Anyways, man, just this show is just how far it's come, man. It's just we've been able to help each other out in so many ways. Now, outside of YouTube as well, too. It's just, yeah, you guys mean the world to me, man. And so do the fans, too. Thank y'all so much for watching this. And hopefully we do, 200 more shows.
200 more.
I'm just so thankful for everything, for this show, for the friendships, for just the opportunity to be, I would call myself a successful YouTuber because I'm an introvert. Naturally, I'm just an introvert, guys. If you know me, you know that I could be perfectly happy fishing, being quiet, just being to myself. But at the same time, like, it was back right after I got out of college. I knew, hey, I don't want to be stuck working in a motel because that's what I was doing when I graduated college. I wasn't happy doing that. I wanted to be working in NASCAR. Career opportunity didn't open up when I was in college, so I was kind of bummed about that. But I made my own opportunity. I made my own career path doing social media, which is something that I knew that I could do and something I want to do. And now, I mean, it's opened up a career. I'm with, I don't want to say who they are or get into specifics, but I have a great career for a great company doing social media, doing YouTube as a literal career job. And I'm so happy and I'm thankful for everyone who's watched this show, watched my channel, for giving me the opportunity to gain those skills that got me hired in the first place with my current employer. So, just for everything, I'm just so thankful for Jarrett randomly emailing me. I remember I was going to take a shower and got an email. I was like, who is this guy? And then it's just been one thing after another. I'm grateful for everything and for all the friendships I've gotten. I mean, these guys were literally groomsmen at my wedding. So
yeah.
Sorry, Barry Boy Blast. I wasn't laughing at you, Danny. I was laughing at Will England in the chat, reminding us that was it Vince Welsh's phone number we accidentally leaked during a podcast? No, who was it?
It's Dylan Smith's, I believe. It showed for a second. Yeah. So
yeah.
He
was cool with that though.
Some of the memories we've made on this show, but no,
that was season 1, bro.
Yeah.
That was season 1.
And y'all remember when Bobby Allison called in how
yeah.
So
he hung up on us live on the air from Hickory Speedway. We got a bye from the goat.
Listen, boys, I can't hear you. I gotta go. Bye.
Yeah.
I appreciate him being willing to do it, but
yeah, it's funny. It's just funny looking back on that. Like some people, they're like, "Oh, that was a failure." I'm like, I don't see that at all. Hey, we got him on.
It was something else. Hey, we were just
humble beginning.
We were just a bunch of kids. My piece. I was in college. I think it was my second year of college when I got Jared or Danny, one of y'all, got my attention in a YouTube chat. Sent me DMs.
We were both blowing up your Fortnite stream because we wanted you to just talk to us.
One of my rare Fortnite streams, and you guys were there, and it was a great opportunity. Because growing up, I could talk to my dad about NASCAR, but we both got into the sport at the same time. We both liked the same driver. We both knew about the same. We both kind of had the same opinions on everything. So, like, no, I love you, Dad. He might be watching, might not be. Love talking racing with him, but like, you had to step out of that zone at some point. Had to go out into the real NASCAR world, so to speak. And the connections I've made with you guys through racing, outside of racing, outside of this show, remarkable. Never, kind of like Danny said, not so much from a career perspective, but just from a personal perspective, trying to step outside my comfort zone, connect with more people, make new friendships, get to know others in the industry that we've been able to do through this show. Many of the guests we've had on, many of the people we've gotten to talk to because of where this show has taken us. I would also consider myself an introvert off camera for sure. I feel like everyone says I'm an introvert, but like I genuinely, I'm not good at approaching people and introducing myself or starting a conversation. So meeting you guys and sort of building up those skills and building those connections with other race fans, that's something I never had as a kid. And so it's been a dream come true. It's been a heck of a ride, both just on my channel, doing my own solo stuff, but also doing this show. Granted me opportunities and experiences I never thought would be possible in a million years. So it's cool to see where it's gotten, 200 episodes in, and we'll see where it goes from here. Hopefully it keeps growing up and up. Let's double it in the next couple of years. That's the plan.
I can tell you what's not going to happen is what TNT Productions said. We are not going to say this is the final episode.
And
No,
goodbye.
We're on my channel next week.
That's right. We are on Jarrett's, and I know. And before that, though, on Tuesday, I want to remind you guys one more time. August 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern time. IDK Player, friend of the channel, other YouTuber, will be streaming the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, the NWP 400, Next Gen Cars at Daytona. Be sure to tune into that. Of course, then afterwards, August 24th, we'll be on Jarrett's channel for episode 201.
I'll be in the 91, by the way. So let's see if I can survive this one.
Darian's going to be the Project 91.
Darian Raikkonen.
Yeah, so hey, it's the NWP scheme made by the talented Tyler Tinsley himself. Thank you so much again, and let's see if I can get a W in this ride. Let's see.
200 episodes. This has been a blast. Thank you, everyone who tuned in tonight, everyone who sent in super chats. An extra special thank you. Very, very generous. We truly appreciate your support. But on behalf of the entire crew here, Daniel Baldwin, the Iceberg, Darian Gilliam, aka Black Flags Matter. My name is Eric Estep. We'll see you next week on the Icebergs channel.
Didn't hear a thing. Not even from
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
It's all
tried.
good.
Vroom, 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 vroom,
200th race of his, and hit his magic number 200. 200.
Boys,